the I'm a Fan of podcast, music, comedy, and more.
Mikey P.
What's
Michael
up?
Pasvar. What, dude, you were telling me when you came in here, 3 years? It's been like 3 years since you've been on the show?
Yeah, I think.
Damn, dude, my bad. I think just doing your other show in here and seeing you for other projects, I just overlooked it, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen you since we wrapped the last season of Back in the Day.
Yeah, we don't bump into each other much anymore.
No, like I think that was January, maybe? January, February when it wrapped?
Probably.
Something around that time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the last time I've been up here, last time I've seen your face.
Well, I'm glad to see you, man.
I know, it's good
It's
to
been
see
too
you.
long. We normally get to talk so much shit off the microphone.
I
about
know.
all this-
So no shit talking.
But no,
on
it's
here.
good to see you, man. And I don't know what's new with you, man. What's getting you excited these days? Because I don't get to talk to you about, we used to always have these chats about like comedy, the scene, the local thing, what we thought would fix the world, and all this stuff. And we don't get to do that. But what are you loving around here lately?
The most thing that I'm excited, like project wise, right now is
Yeah.
I started a second podcast.
Yeah, I've been listening.
with my one of my best friends, Sonny G, formerly of the Juicy Jogger Nation.
Yeah.
And it's fun.
You're going to bring up running right now. And I'm very upset
Dude,
with you about that.
I almost
I was
just-
not going to bring it
Hey,
up right now.
I almost just to troll you, I almost wore what I wore to the marathon.
Can I tell you, I thought about wearing my marathon medals here today just to mess with you. Just because, you know what it is, though? I just miss, like, the marathon running has been fun.
Yeah.
But I just miss the group messaging shit talking that was going on
I don't-
with you and Sonny running the marathon.
Yeah, I just
The
don't-
first one was still the sweetest.
I don't think you can ever recreate it. I think that's the
Yeah.
problem. You know what I mean? Like when you try to go do something a second time, it's never the same again. And I don't know. I don't have any desire to ever run one again. But yeah, so that's what I'm excited about right now is that podcast because it's a lot of fun. Like I don't know what it's going to
Don't skip past the running.
We'll get back to the running.
Okay.
But I think right now that's what I'm having the most fun with.
Dude, you guys bro out on there, man. It's like when I'm around the two of you, like anytime y'all did a podcast episode together, not on my show or anything, but like whenever you guys, like I think when he was on
back in
the day, thank you. It's like you feel like you're in the corner all alone because you two just bro out so quickly and you get to the inside jokes and stuff so fast. Not that you're doing that on this new podcast, but just you can tell you guys have been friends for a very long time.
Yeah, I think that it's a lot of fun because we've tried to structure it. So we have segments.
Yeah, you're running it kind of like a radio show.
Yeah, and that was kind of the plan. That's kind of what we said.
Did you pick up some of that from all the fill-in spots you got to do with what are they calling it nowadays with Ben
Well,
and Skin?
now they're back to the Eagle.
Okay, I can't keep up.
So when I did fill-in spots, it was on the Freak.
Yeah.
Same call.
But they were getting you some real time on there, weren't
Yeah,
they?
I did. I filled in for them for Ben and Skin. I think three full days during the holidays.
Yeah.
So I did that with Christina.
Was it
and then a
back to
couple-
back? 3 back-to-back days?
It was spread out.
Okay.
It was one day, like it was before Christmas and after Christmas.
Okay.
And it was great because I was also headlining Addison Improv, like January 3rd or something like that, like right at the beginning of January.
Yeah.
So in and out of break, every single time they introduced me, they dropped that.
Oh,
So you know what I mean?
awesome.
It's like, go get
Yeah.
tickets, blah, 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 blah. So I think it helped with ticket sales for sure.
Yeah. So they're back on the 97.1? What are
They were
doing?
already on 97.1. Okay, so
Okay.
they were on 97.1,
Yeah.
the Eagle.
It was the
Then
Eagle, then the
then
Freak.
it flipped to the Freak, and now it's flipped back to the Eagle.
All right, whatever.
And so they're on that still.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what we want. We wanted to format it more like kind of a show, just to kind of keep us
Yeah.
on like pace and not just sitting there and just like two dudes talking
Right.
at all times, because we don't want a long form podcast.
Because that's the downfall of every podcast where they're like, we'll just talk like we talk all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like it quickly becomes boring.
And we do a little bit of that at the top, but we have a structure of it. Okay, like
Yeah.
here's something we want to talk about. Like he just turned into like a full-time stay-at-home dad.
Yeah.
So as of his family moved, and so as of maybe like 3 weeks ago, he's now they're not in daycare or anything, and it's just him.
Dang.
And so we have an update
How many
of
kids
that
does he
every
have?
single week. Two, but
Two
they're
kids.
both under. One will be 3 in a couple of days.
Yeah.
And the other one is like not even 18 months.
Yeah.
So it's he's doing stuff nonstop. So we touch on that, and then we talk like news stories. But I like that we don't do sometimes we'll do like the main stories, but we do a lot of obscure news stories.
Yeah.
And then events around DFW. So that's kind of like what I'm most excited about right now is that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next season of Back in the Day, I'll start recording in like the next week or so.
Oh, doing those remotes you're talking about?
Yeah.
Have fun, man.
Here's the thing.
It's gonna be fine.
It's going to be the same thing I'm doing with Sonny.
Yes.
So it's
going to be fine.
It's not going to look or sound as good as it has.
No, but that's not an issue. Well, your show with Sonny sounds fine. Like you're just doing it. You guys are each doing it in your own little home office area, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it sounds fine. What program are you using with that?
We use Riverside.
Yeah, Riverside is great. I did that for I had a
the dog lady.
Yeah, the vegan activist.
Yeah.
I can't remember her name right now, but yeah, she had the hilarious thing where they pretend to sell dog meat.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, she's still going strong, by the way, but she's just a little more activist than I will ever be on that topic.
Yeah.
You know. But I thought it was hilarious marketing.
Yeah,
I loved
it's
it,
super
and it's
fun.
like they're passionate about it. But anyway, I was doing Riverside with her. Like it works well as long as you set it up. The hard thing with the remote will just be finding a nice little spot for them to sit in or something. You know.
Yeah. So
on their side,
most of the time, I decided to do the remote thing for this season because I have a handful of people that I'd love to do on the podcast that I'm not going to get them into a studio.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I would like to set it up. And I'm not going to say any of the names yet until it's like official.
Mark Cuban.
But Mark Cuban, Sinead O'Connor. Like it's just, I think she's.
I think she might have
Yeah, I
passed.
think she's dead. That's why I can't get her into the studio.
Yeah, yeah.
But just a lot of like cool people
Yeah.
that I've reached out to, and it's the reason why it's taken a little bit longer to get started. I wanted to start like back in May, but they're cool people, so I'm having a hard time. They've all committed. Yeah, I'd love to do it, and some of them I have to go through like a manager and stuff to get a time, and then they'll say a time, and then it's like, hey, they got called into work to do on this project, so. But we're still, but it's cool because they're keeping up with me. Like I'm not having to do a ton of follow up. They're like, hey, I'm sorry, like everything like that. So.
That's the hardest part about all this stuff is just scheduling. Most
I
people
know.
are down to do something. It just comes down to everybody's busy all the time.
That's why the Sonny G and Mike P show thing is super fun because it's just scheduling ourselves.
Right.
And it takes it's an hour out of my week.
Yeah.
And I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to drive. We just set up. Because when he kind of approached me. He's like, hey, do you want to do this podcast? And I was like, I don't know, dude. Like, I think it'd be a lot of fun. I was like, but I got my podcast, I got shows, I got work, I got kids, And he's like, no. He's like, we would just do it from our houses. I was like, oh,
yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Game changer.
I could do that. I could find an hour a week or, hour and a half a week and knock that out.
Yeah. I sometimes go and think about doing that for this show. But I love being there in person with them. And I still haven't given up the I'm willing to still sacrifice the inconvenience.
Yeah.
Even though sometimes I just want to bash my head into my, just it's so frustrating trying to like. There's people who come in from out of town, and you're thinking like, okay, I'll try to snag them on that day, and you just can't line something up. But, yeah. Then I watch these other podcasts where they like y'all's, and it's like, God, that looks so easy. I'm so jealous of just how much easier that is.
Well, I understand the guest thing of wanting to be in person.
Yeah.
Because especially if you've never met them.
Yeah.
And it's the first time that you're kind of meeting them. You're meeting them on essentially a Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, because even the one I did, Elwood Farms, that's what it was, the vegan activist. You see that thing flying around here? If you see it, I'm just smack the shit out of it. It's driving me crazy. But yeah, there's still like, it's hard to overcome that little bit of disconnect. But then again, when you perform on stage, do you feel like that's kind of similar? Like because you're on a stage, there's lights on you, and there's a crowd. Even though they're there with you, they're kind of separated in that same way. Like you're still breaking down a little bit of a barrier real fast to win them over. There's just enough of a gap between you. It's not intimate quite like this.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's nothing like this.
So you might have a better chance, breaking down those barriers, than I would going remote.
And most of the people that I'm putting on the having them on the show, I have some kind of a relationship with them. It's not going to be like the very first time we've ever spoken together. Mm-hmm. So it should be. We'll see what happens. I don't know. It could be a complete and total failure, but we'll find out.
Could be the best thing you ever did.
Yeah, we'll find out in a couple of weeks whenever we roll it out.
That's exciting, man. Yeah, you got some stuff moving and shaking. Isn't it crazy how like you go through the the waves of life, like the crest and the troughs of like, you're down at the bottom, you're thinking, God damn it, I got to get something going.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden comes back up and you're like, oh my God, I've got so many things going right now.
Like 2 weeks ago, I was like, do I have to quit comedy? Like literally in my mind, I was like, I decided to take a break in July.
Yeah.
Except for the one show that I do every single month, which is Roller Town in Salina. I was like, I need a break. I'm running around like crazy. I've been going nonstop since January, work a full-time job, have the kids, did a bunch of road stuff this year. And I was like, I'm just going to take a pause and we're going on a family vacation the first week of July. And then I'm just going to take July off.
Yeah.
And while I said that, you're getting requests for shows and I'm like, oh, sorry. I'm just saying I'm not available,
Right.
And then I'm trying to start booking August and September, had nothing on the books and couldn't book anything.
Yeah.
And then all of this, like literally 2 weeks ago, I go, this is it. I guess
We have a good run.
Yeah. I guess
run.
this is it because that's just the nature of this, of all people that do gig work. You always think the worst.
Well, it's just any artistic endeavor, period. You get on these like big highs when you achieve something. Like when you finish a project of any kind, it's like, man, I could do like 10 of these right now. And then you go through that inevitable dry spell of either like there's no one to work with or you feel like I don't have any creativity or like, and then, it's like you'll get hit with like an unexpected bill or something and you're like, it'd be easier if I just stopped doing all this and I could just, I just have like more savings. That's what I need in my life. But then you remind yourself like, oh, I'd be so bored.
Yeah.
It'd be so boring.
Or when all I do is work, I hate my life. I'm not fulfilled. I'm obviously doing all of these things from a professional side because I do a day job that I don't dislike it. It takes care of me and my family, but I don't get like any
no fulfillment
from it. So I have to do some kind of creative thing.
Yeah. The creative thing that's bumming me out lately is, I loved working on Lawrence's thing and, it's like I'm ready to do the next one, but I don't want to just throw like high volume out. I want to work with people where it's really like a puzzle piece where it feels like it's working. And I've gotten real fortunate to where people are reaching out and they're saying like, "Hey, would you be interested in doing something like this?" But we're just not vibing.
Yeah.
Whether it's me or them, it's just not clicking. And you're just like, "Okay, it's going to come around." Just because the whole Lawrence thing was just out of left field anyway. He literally was just on the show and was like, I really want to record something. You want to talk about it afterwards? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then it turned into that whole thing. And so it's like, well, that's the way it'll go. It'll just be the right person, but you start to realize, man, like the nuance of, I don't know if it's trust or what, but like you guys have it in your mind of like, if I were to record it, here's how special I would want it to be.
Yeah.
And it's whether or not you and I are thinking of it that similar way, whether or not it's just going to click. And that's where it's been right now. It's just not been clicking with others. And it's like, they seem fine. And it's not me saying like, I don't want to do that. It's me saying like, if we did that, I would like to do it this way. And I feel like they don't dig it at all.
Yeah. That could be hard, right?
Yeah.
When anytime that you're collaborating with someone and you both, have a passion about that thing, it's very hard to come up with the same, like to agree on stuff. It's like almost like a marriage, right? Like you have to compromise. You have to. Some people are gonna have to give a little bit, and so especially if you don't know that person very well, or if you haven't worked with them very often, it's very easy for you just to kind of, I don't want to say butt heads, but butt heads.
Yeah, it's like how Elon Musk is working on the Neuralink. Something like that makes me get excited because then it's like if you could just send me your thoughts of here's what I was hoping it looks like and sounds like, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, no, we can do that, we can figure that out. But instead, people will send me like, I really liked this special or that special, and so I think I have a good grasp on how you want it to look, but I'm not in your mind. I really don't know. It's like maybe the things that I think make that visually cool are not the things you're looking at all.
Yeah.
It's very, well, it's like you had a theater background. You know how it is working with other artists. And
for sure.
When they're giving you, like, hey, in this next performance, could you just give it a little more like sizzle? And it's like, what exactly is sizzle?
Define sizzle for me, please.
Yeah. But what has been fun is I've been watching all these specials that I kind of forgot about or never got around to watching because people are saying like, oh, I really like this. Like someone had mentioned Adam Sandler's 100% Fresh. Did you ever watch that?
I don't think so.
Jesus, man. I think I'm becoming like a massive Adam Sandler fan. And I never disliked him, but I think I'm just coming around to thinking this guy is maybe more incredible than we realize.
Oh, he's incredible. I
Yeah.
mean, he's so smart.
Yeah. And his stand-up, like, so he filmed it at like 3 or 4 different places, big arena, small club, medium-sized thing, and like a joke, like a full joke will kind of be at one.
Okay.
And then there'll be short little 10-second cuts between whatever's going on. And then he's also got like original songs and stuff that he's singing in there. And it goes through like real stand-up, like set-up punch kind of thing to dumb, immature Billy Madison song.
Yeah.
You know? And you just realize like, God, this guy just does whatever he wants and it's pretty golden.
Yeah.
And then by the end of it, he sings a song for Chris Farley and he sings a song for his wife. And you're like tearing up. You're like, I didn't know I was going to get so emotional with this.
Is that on Netflix?
Yeah.
And it's maybe came out like 4
Yes.
years ago.
Yeah.
I've seen a part of it. I haven't seen
It's
it all.
long. I think it's like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
But if you get the time, it's good, man. And then just like a way to just look at stand up a little differently. You know, like, because clearly he comes from a stand up background, but he's also got the SNL background. He's got all this filmmaking stuff. And he's got all the services of Happy Madison Productions to put on. So it's all beautiful. It's all incredible.
He has so much money.
Yeah.
So it can be amazing.
But you're sitting there, it's like you're watching him sing these songs, and you're like, I think this guy could have been like a real fucking singer and like a real musician.
Yeah.
You know, like I think he just chose comedy.
Well, he sings in Wedding Singer, right? That's him singing.
Well, that was one, like the after watching that stand up thing, it's like I started getting your phone's listening to everything, so I started getting more clips, and so I went back and watched when he's singing the when he's depressed in The Wedding Singer and he's showing Drew Barrymore the song for the first time, and you're like, I mean, yeah, it's a little cheesy because it's this movie, but if he actually like went into a studio and did this, like that's kind of a killer song.
Yeah, he can be. He can definitely be a frontman for a band.
Yeah,
He's not like he doesn't have a beautiful voice, but he's got a voice for
he
a
could
band.
be a rock singer.
Absolutely,
A
that's what I
rock-
mean.
He could be
Yeah.
I'm like, Dave Grohl doesn't have a beautiful voice.
Yeah.
But he's got the perfect one for the Foo Fighters.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so it's like, I don't know, just thinking about all these projects in different ways and watching more specials like that where it's like, damn, that's really, I don't know. I'm looking for the next really fun thing. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
You never know.
You never know. But it does get me a little excited about like the scene has turned over once again. There's like a whole new crop of people here now.
Yeah, there's definitely new people,
Lots of new faces, man.
and that's what I'm trying to do something with Roller Town.
Yeah, what's going on up there these days?
It's doing strong. I had one maybe last Saturday with Megan King and Andrew Deacon,
Oh yeah.
and that was a great show.
Yeah.
Good crowd. Pretty much all the tables full.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting to the point to where we're 3 years into it.
Mm-hmm.
So we've done it for 3 years. I would say 75% of the shows are packed.
Yeah.
The other ones that are not packed are pretty small.
Yeah.
So it's kind of it's not hit or miss because I would say 75%. But what I want to start doing with it is start giving like guest spots to people that are kind of starting to make their way up.
Yeah. That'd be killer.
The problem with that is I don't get the opportunity to go to a lot of open mics, so I don't know who these people are. So I kind of rely on some other comics to hit me up. So, I mean,
you could always look at some of these other shows like, the Cowabunga guys. It's like they'll throw in some newer comics on there too. You can always reach out to them, see if they vet
I was
them at all.
talking with Vinny on
Yeah.
Saturday about it. I was like, give me some names of people that are like less than 2 years
Yeah.
that you feel like are going up a lot and getting pretty funny. He gave me a couple names.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I know there's comics that listen to this show. If you're newer and you think you have what it takes, DM me. Maybe we can talk about doing a guest spot.
The Roller Town spot's fun, man. And it's a good learning experience up there too. Like it's a good crowd, but it's a different crowd.
Yeah.
It's nothing like a regular comedy club up there. So, but they are now trained for a comedy show.
Yeah.
Even though it's a brewery and it's very unique.
I always like start the show off like when because I host it And I start the show off like, who came here tonight because they knew there was a comedy show? Make some noise. And like,
I bet it's at least half now,
it's
right?
usually 75%.
Yeah.
And I was like, who?
Yeah, because there can't be that many new people out there. I mean, it's growing, but it's not a huge town yet.
Yeah, it's not a huge town. The fact that they, that they're tied to Pin and Skin, there are people that will just come to the brewery because of that. And they're moving to Frisco.
Yeah, I remember you telling me.
So next year they will be moving.
Oh, so that's already going, huh?
They've already broke ground. So they're moving to downtown Frisco. If you're familiar with the Frisco area, you know where the soccer field is?
Yes.
The soccer stadium. Behind it are these big silos. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah.
So there's a big silos and a field in front of it. They're building like a multi-million-dollar facility on that field. Rollertown will be on those silos.
Wow.
And they're talking about that they're like the performance area for there. It's going to be separate.
Yeah.
It's going to have like professional stage, professional lighting, professional sound equipment.
They're setting up, man.
So because they want to do music and stuff, and then so our shows.
Well,
there
it sounds
will
like
be
they're
legit.
setting up a thing where these people getting played on the radio station and stuff too. It's like, hey, when you roll through town, if you want to come on up to Frisco, also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's exciting. So then Salina's going to be gone.
They don't know what they're doing with that. I saw something on
I feel
there.
like Frisco's far enough away; they could keep both of those going.
Well, I saw something on their Instagram because they were showing an aerial view of it this week, and people kept commenting. I was like, "What's happening with the Salina one?" And they were like, the plan is to keep it, but we're trying to figure out with the liquor laws. There's some kind of distribution law that they have to figure out. I'm not going to quote it because I don't know.
A long time ago, I had Pedicolis on here, and they were talking about some of that, about like the legality of canning beer and how like all these lobbyists for the larger beer companies really like hamstring the smaller ones.
Yeah.
And all these old just TABC rules or whatever. But that's exciting. But like, they got to figure something out, because if you're in Salina, I think you'd be super bummed if that place closed.
For sure, yeah.
Right?
And
You'd be bummed up there.
And the name is named off of the town.
I didn't know Rollertown was because of Salina.
Yeah, so in, I don't remember, maybe late 1800s, 1900s, the town was the railroad that went through it where they got all their crops. They had moved it.
Okay.
So their plan was they had to either like die out and not be able to get any distribution from the railroad or not, or they had to figure something out. So they put the entire town on rollers and they moved it.
Oh my God.
To get to the so they could get to the railroad.
I don't know how I've never heard that.
Yeah, so that's where they got the name Rollertown.
Oh, well, the logo's making way more sense now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man, you almost wonder, like, I mean, they won't do it, and they clearly already have a plan in place, but it's like, man, you almost think maybe you just make the Frisco thing a whole nother thing and keep Rollertown
No, they got to
right
keep the name,
Yeah, but they put so much into it.
They put so much into it, and they're really good at marketing. I mean,
Yeah.
all of their merch looks great. Like everything that they do on that.
Their
end is
hats
really
have always
great.
been killer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's exciting,
That's
man.
a fun thing for sure. That's fun.
Well, that could be really cool, because you could have potentially 2 stages to book and run.
That's true. That is true. I didn't think about it like that. I was just thinking that the move to Frisco would be great.
Yeah, but I mean, there'd be 2 totally different shows. I mean, you could do 2 shows a month instead of the one, because it's 1 show a month right now, right?
1 show a month.
You could do 2 shows a month, and it wouldn't feel too overwhelming because they're in separate spots, and you don't have to try to bring up the same crowd each month. And
Yeah.
that could be pretty cool, man.
Yeah. So it's definitely a fun thing to do.
And then I
enjoy
can
that
keep
part.
bullying you into opening up your comedy club up there. Yeah. You're the one who was sending me like screenshots of the square.
I know. We were finding stuff. We were just there one day with my wife and I. And then as I was thinking about it, I was like, I don't want to do this. I have no desire to do this. I just think that someone should do it. I don't want to be the person to do it.
Yeah.
I looked at this one. It was like an old Masonic lodge. Of
What's a Masonic lodge?
like Mason, like
Oh,
Freemasons.
yeah. Okay.
It was an old lodge that I guess they're selling. I don't know.
That's
who
the picture
owns
you
it.
sent me, right?
Oh, is that the one I sent you?
Yeah. Because it's kind of a sad little building. It's
It
just the
is.
door
Yeah.
and then like a big wall with their logo on it, I think, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
but you can see the potential.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that town's supposed to go from, I think they're 30,000 now, and they're projecting it to go in the next 8 years to 180,000.
Well, when you sent me those numbers, excuse me, and then when I think about like the growth that Frisco alone has had,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, wasn't it one of the fastest growing cities in the country for a couple of years in a row?
yeah, now Salina is.
Okay, yeah.
And-
so you see it, it's like, God,
Yeah.
if you could,
Get into it now.
yeah, the key is like if you can buy the building, if you can buy the real estate now, then you won't lose because you have the equity in it. If
Yeah.
it went under, you could sell it and you'd be fine still.
Yeah.
But yeah, When you sent me that picture, I got my wheels turning. I was like, God, he said, what? I wonder what his credit score is. I bet they could take a loan out. They could do this. Like, could I drive up there and convince him?
Could we possibly find a way to do it? Yeah. Do I want to? Probably not.
What would keep you from doing it? The only thing you told me was if you become like a club owner, you feel like people don't identify you as a comic anymore, that you're running a club now.
Okay, that's one.
Yeah.
But I am in the mode right now to where I do not want to miss my kids grow up.
Sure.
So I am, and as cheesy as that might sound, but like I told you tonight that we had to do this at a certain time because my kid had a basketball game.
Right.
So like I'm literally trying to make sure I do not miss hardly anything because these kids, they're only going to like you for a handful of years. And it goes so fast. So I don't really want to miss much.
Yeah.
And so right now I'm in this mindset of this is my time to be with them, to build them up so that they can eventually go feel strong enough, confident enough to go live their dreams.
Yeah.
Right? So that's who I am right now is their dad. And yes, I have my comedy and yes, I have my podcast and that's great. But opening a club, opening all that other type of stuff, there would be a lot of time. That's a lot of hours.
Yeah.
It's a lot of hours.
But it could also be these incredible memories of them coming up to the club with you.
Possibly.
Family-run little business and
Yeah.
helping out and like really different, unique memories.
Yeah, but I just know how tired I get. And I would just be so tired all the time.
I almost sent you a text because, we've talked about like I would love to open a club up here in Dallas, but that becomes even more and more expensive. But it's like I almost sent you a text where it's like, all right, Mike, like what would it look like if we took out, loans together or something? And like all the horrible things like when you should never start a business with a friend. But because I was just thinking like, man, do I wait more time to try to get into a better spot financially to do something, or do I find a way to get investors? But it's like you kind of don't want investors either because I know the way I want to run, which is I don't want to run like a business where I'm too concerned about the money. I want it to break even and make a little bit over that to be worth my time. But it's really more about building this big scene,
And when you have investors involved, there's a timeline.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, what's going on? There's a lot of pressure. Yeah. Now all of a sudden you're doing shit you didn't want to do just to make money.
Yeah.
And then you can't build what it actually is that you want. I don't know. Maybe one day. I have no idea.
What size room would that place be in Salina if you did it?
I think it could be like a 200-person room. Like just looking at it,
Yeah.
I'd have to get in there.
Yeah, but I'm saying like if you felt like, oh, this would be the perfect size in Salina, what would that be for you?
Oh, the perfect place, like 150, 200.
150. Have you've performed out in Tyler, right?
Yeah.
So that's a small room.
Bigger than the
that's
bigger
that's
than the Tyler.
What, like
thing.
60? I think that's probably.
I think
50,
it's
60.
now. I think
Before the edition, I haven't seen their.
I was there with the edition. The time I did it, in April, the edition happened because we were on track to sell it out for we had sold the most tickets ever because they had just done the edition, but we didn't sell it out.
Okay.
So I think we were like 3 seats away from selling it.
So what did they do? Did they push the wall back or something?
I don't know because I hadn't seen it since before it was in the repair shop.
Oh, okay.
I hadn't been there since it was Rose City.
We've seen the same room then.
Yeah.
I don't. You know what? Now that I think about it, I don't think they did an addition. I think they refreshed like a lobby and made a new entrance area.
Okay.
I think that's what they did.
But it's bigger now than it was. I think they changed it maybe in March or something.
Okay, I can't remember when I went out there.
It's fun. I had a lot of fun on that show.
Yeah, I think about starting with a room like that size in Dallas, but then you think like, would I go through the motions for a couple years with that size? Like, or just go for it and make like a big room?
I think you just have to go for
2
it.
rooms.
Yeah, 3 rooms, recording studio.
Have you been out to Big Laughs in Fort Worth yet?
Not yet.
That's on my list of where to go.
I want to see it badly.
The social media stuff looks cool. I know a couple people are putting on shows out there already, like putting on like their local shows on off nights and stuff. But it seems like it's going to be pretty good and give some of the other Fort Worth people a little run for their money.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
it looks cool. It's got 2 rooms.
Yeah,
which I think is super cool. But I don't know much else about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking forward to getting out there one day. And
What do you think about clubs going next to clubs? Because I think about like the Well, even Rogan was talking about how off 6th Street, there's
They're all
like
there.
4 or 5 places, boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom.
I like it.
I think that too. Like I was thinking, like, man, would it be cool to open one up, down off of Greenville Avenue somewhere, like right near Hyenas, or maybe go do one in Deep Ellum near DCC, where like people can just do. It's like, because I've heard people where they're like, oh no, there's already a club there, and it's like, yeah, but doesn't it benefit to have like
McDonald's
almost like
and
Thank
Wendy's are
you.
right next to each other.
I say that all the time. It's like how much do you see like Lowe's and Home Depot?
Yeah.
It's like
I mean, you always see Walmart and Target right next to each other.
yeah, and I think of it as like, man, you got to be able to run it together. There's almost 8 million people here. Is it really a problem to try to sell out a couple hundred every show for 2 clubs?
And I think so. Something that our scene needs is they need an area to where you can do multiple spots in a night.
Right.
And you don't have to drive. Because I think there was one night that I did Rollertown and Addison in the same night, because this Addison show was like at 11:30 and Rollertown's at 9. So I just got done and then I drove. Well, that's 35, 40 minutes away. Right? You need a spot to where it's like, well, I don't have to drive across the Metroplex. I can go here, here, and here, and I can do, 3, 4, 15-minute sets.
Yeah.
And it's an actual real show, not mics. I mean, mics would be great too, but we need, and Deep Ellum could be that.
I feel like Deep Ellum could be, because there's already so much foot traffic, and there's really, you just need somewhere like what DCC does well is they've got those show posters out on the sidewalk. People know it's a club when they drive by, even if they've never been there. It's very apparent what's going on, and so we're looking at areas like that, and I like that. But we live over in East Dallas, and it's like, man, I kind of wonder if something down off Greenville Avenue would do really well, but it's not. Like, it's kind of close to the other clubs, but it isn't really that walking distance. You could drive quickly to one place or another, but that's kind of boring. It's like, it would be fun to just be able to walk down the street from DCC right into another venue.
Yeah.
And
so Austin has what New York has. Like,
know,
that's
right?
these scenes that, and I think that, and I'm biased, but I think that Dallas has quality comedians.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't have that type, but it doesn't have that feel. It doesn't have this, okay, where's your one show tonight? I'm here. I got to drive. If I'm going to go do another show, I got to drive 45 minutes somewhere else.
Yeah, you get very committed to a location.
Yeah.
Yeah. If as someone who's still learning a lot, that's if when I start judging our scene, I feel like that's one of the weak points is if you're over on like the East Coast or even now down in Austin, it's like you can go do 2, 3, 4 things in an evening, no problem.
Yeah.
And you can do that almost every night.
I've only done Austin once.
Yeah.
And it was I did a Saturday night a couple of around this time last year, and I did 3 spots.
Yeah.
And it was just like boom, boom, and they were all pretty close to each other. There was only one that I had to drive to, and then the other ones I just walked to.
That's perfect.
And
I think that's what we miss. Like, that's how they get those those rapid fire instincts up, because they're able to do, if you can do 3 times as many spots in a week, I mean, you're gonna get more skilled,
and,
right?
And I look at it, for me, I live in the deep suburbs.
Yeah.
So
it's already a commitment coming up.
Yeah, so it's already, and so
Yeah.
it would be so, and I call it, family PTO.
Yeah.
And if I'm already out of the house and I can do 3 shows instead of 1, that's bank for me. That's money right there.
Yeah.
I don't have to drive out here 3 times. I don't have to, use that family PTO. So that would be great if we could get to the point to where we have, and we got the clubs. We got like 12 of them now. It's
Yeah.
like, just get
Well,
them next to each
other. I really think Vinny and Niaz, if they keep going strong with Cowabunga, they're going to try to do something in Plano at some point. They won't really say anything one way or another, but it seems like they're setting up their little Plano empire.
Yeah, but even then, you put 2 things in Plano's a drive city.
Yeah, but you know what you could do? If you strategically put one in Deep Ellum, right? And then you strategically put one in Plano, in that downtown area they're at. Now all of a sudden you can hop on that dart.
That's true.
Right?
And you could go
Plano, you could go Hyenas Dallas, you could go Deep Ellum to whatever club I opened down there, and then you could walk down to DCC. And now you're kind of making the rounds for a $5 ticket.
Yeah, make it happen.
And does the rail run up? It runs up close to y'all somewhere, doesn't it?
No, that Plano is the closest one, which is about 30 minutes away. But
it runs up to Denton now, I thought.
Does it?
Somewhere.
Here's the thing.
Anyway.
They don't want. I don't know what it is, but
Yeah.
like Dart does not F with Frisco. It's not in. It's
That's
not.
insane.
It's in Plano, but it's not.
Yeah, you're right. It stops. It
'cause
stops. The
it
red
was-
line stops up there.
I was went to Plano a couple weeks ago, and I was driving kind of by my old house, and I was like, "Oh yeah, the Dart's out here." I completely forget that the Dart even exists.
Yeah.
I never see it.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I got out there, I was like, "Oh yeah, the Dart's out here. There's the buses."
You know the job I have right now. I part of when I switched jobs, I was like, oh, this will be great. I can take the train to work. You know, I can take the train there and back. And I got to be at work pretty early. But the earliest train starts at something like, I think it was like 5:45, 6 a.m. And I got to be there at 6:30. So it would have been a tight ride. But it's like, I live in Dallas. We live in East Dallas. Near the station I would be using is the one at Mockingbird Station right by Hyenas.
Yeah.
All right, this is in Dallas proper. It's not like I'm saying I live here and saying Dallas, right? And shouldn't that train be starting up at like 3 a.m. or something? Like, should you almost feel like it's a city. It should just be running 24 hours. And I don't know why they don't want to do that.
I think it's safety stuff.
Well, put some fucking cops on there. How do
Yeah.
they do it in these other cities? The subways in New York don't stop.
They don't
do they?
stop. I don't know.
I don't think so. Would they? I mean, it's fucking New York. I know it's different, but
I'm trying to think. I feel like Chicago is where I've done most of my train riding, and I'm trying to think if it ever shut down.
I don't know.
I can't remember.
But still, it seems like you could make that, or fine, shut it down. You know, from midnight to 4 a.m.
Yeah.
You know, and like how many workers go in early that would be taking that thing?
Yeah.
You know,
The dream. That's the dream.
But yeah, dude, that's
the early dart rail.
how we could do our clubs, man.
There, you know,
You could hop. That'd be
all the dart rails. Put them all across the dart stops.
Then you could get like dart sponsorships. Like, but you know how many open micers are going to be riding your
Yeah,
train?
you know what I mean. They're not gonna tip, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be a hard sell on them.
Can I tell you? Speaking of like, I just do you know Nimesh Patel? Have you worked with him yet?
Yes, I'm like twice maybe.
Okay. He was just on. I just released his
Oh,
episode.
cool.
Yeah. When you were walking up, I just released that episode. But I like him a lot. And we were talking about, he brought up that whole, like, you know, I was going to work on that survey thing. And, man, that was like a little glimpse into what it's like for some of you guys as like show producers dealing with like, you know, the scene in quotes. Because it was just going to be a anonymous, like, you know, like the way I was doing it is like, let's do like, here's Hyenas Dallas, here's DCC or whatever. And then it was just going to have things like, you know, how would you rate their main room stage on, you know, 1 to 5, 5 being the best, 1 being needs improvement or whatever, right? I was going to try to keep it positive. And we were just going to say like who got like good scores, right? And then I thought, oh, why limit it to just the clubs? Let's talk about like the shows that get put on, like which show producer does a good job, which is your favorite like open mic or your favorite recurring show or all this stuff. The amount of things I was getting about like how it should be done, how you should do things, and all these opinions, and so many of them, like, yeah, there were like veteran people with opinions, but there was also these people where it's like, who are you? I've never ever heard of you. You're brand new to whatever was going on, and like wanting to get like real granular and minute about topics and ideas, and it's like,
Were they messaging you this stuff mostly? Like
yeah,
it was private.
and I pulled down the post that I had put up because a lot of it was in the comments too, and I
Yeah.
didn't want that people being able to trace it back to that. I don't want to call anybody out, but you're just like, what the hell? This was supposed to just be a fun little side thing, and it's like that. I was immediately started to think like, man, this must be what it's like when, you know, you're trying to book your show in Salina and other people are trying to book shows other places, and these people have all their input that they want to weigh in on, and it's difficult to keep a fun thing fun sometimes.
What it reminds me of
Uh-huh.
is I've managed a lot of people, and one of the jobs I had where I managed like 50 plus people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I ran like a lot of challenges and contests, and that's what reminded me. It was just nonstop feedback. Where some of it I was happy about, because one thing I would do is at the end of the quarter I would do like a Q&A almost. Where I was asking for feedback because I want to always make it better and I always want to do stuff like that. So I was always fine with that. But dude, sometimes people just come into my office. I'm like, can I tell you what I think you should be? And I'm like, yeah. Or like they call me back. When you're talking to new hires, maybe you should tell them this. And I'm like,
where it's like clearly that was from a very specific incident that they ran into. And
yeah,
it's
and I was like,
I think that's maybe a one-time thing.
Yeah, I can't manage 50 people based off of this one-time thing happened. I can't change policies based off of that. That's what that reminds me of a lot, where it's like...
The thing that got me was people started talking about like comedy clubs as whether or not they were safe spaces for a whole host of different demographics. And it's like, how the fuck are we even going to put that as a question? You know what I'm saying? Where it can be answered in a very objective, you know, and then the other thing I was seeing, I was seeing all this like stuff in the future of like, okay, what's going to happen is people are going to like group up and try to like trash one place and prop up another place or something. You know, like it'll get very like, you'll text people and be like, oh, give this low scores, give that high scores. And I was like, this is just not even going to be a accurate thing anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it's just going to be like petty squabbling.
Yeah, it's going to turn into high school.
Very much.
Popular contest type thing.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, I don't care about the granular specifics of people in this scene as like individuals, whatever that may be, right? Like, I don't look at you and go, you know, oh, he's a great mixed race comedian, right? That just seems, it's like, I would just rather say like, oh yeah, I think he's very funny. And it's like, to me, that should just be the standard of what we're going to judge everything off of, right? Yeah. Whoever that is, are they funny? Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, they should be on more shows.
Yeah, I think people do that because if they feel like they've been marginalized, they try to do that, you know, to get so that they feel like they can't get booked unless they do those type of shows or whatever, or they just feel like we want to celebrate it.
If you want to celebrate it, I have no problem, right? But to me, it's like you should, if you were that passionate about it, because I'm not. Whatever that subject is, of any subject, right? Like, even just talking about this, people are already filling in the blanks of what they think I'm referring to, probably.
Yeah.
But I really don't care.
You're
like,
so going to get canceled?
I don't give a shit. Well, to me, pure equality is never denying anyone who's qualified for something based off of anything other than that. And that's all I care about, right? Like, I would never want to deny anyone anything for any other reason other than, I don't think they're qualified for that, right? Whatever that is. And, but I know people are passionate about other things. It's like, whether it be, you know, I can't keep up with all the initials anymore, but it's like the LGBTQ plus IA or something. I don't remember.
There now, yeah.
But it's like, hey, if you're passionate about that, it's like, you should probably be taking the lead and deciding like, what are the spots around here that emphasize that really well, right? Or if it's a certain type of minority of something else, it's like, you should probably be taking the lead on that and doing the same, you know, like if that's what you're passionate about, do it. But that whole, it's like you start getting like messages about like, well, are you going to be inclusive towards this? And it's like, I don't really know much about that. I'm kind of the wrong person to host something around that.
Yeah, you don't want me spewing.
I would be more on I would be more on the education side of like, if you did it, I would be educating myself after you did it. You know?
It would probably be a bad idea for me to speak on what it's like growing up in New York City.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Exactly. That's my point, you know? And it's like, it was just like, God, all I care about is, are you funny? If you happen to be any one of those other things and you're funny, I'm really just going to be looking at, are you funny?
Yeah.
You know, and the other things is like, oh, that's cool. You know?
Yeah.
You know, and then like probably the next thing I'll do is be like, so I'm like looking for people to run a marathon with me in in December.
I saw your post on that and I was like,
I got one.
Did you?
I am sponsoring Kevin DeAnda, stand-up comic.
Nice.
Kevin DeAnda is going to be running the Dallas Marathon as an I'm a fan of runner. And he's never, as far as I know, he's never done a marathon. And he was like, he's in that zone where we were a couple years ago where he's like, I've been thinking about it. And it's like, I guess that was the sign that like, we're going to do it.
You know, okay.
He's in that, you remember where we were that first year. Well, I was probably there more that first year because you and Sonny had already gotten hyped up during the pandemic.
We had already done the training.
So where y'all were that very first time and where I was on y'all's second time preparing, that's where he is now, where you're just hyped.
Well, I think, like you said, the group chat thing made it super fun.
Yeah.
And it kind of gave something else to talk about, you know, because then we were just like bullshitting nonstop every day. You know what I mean? About running, but also about whatever things. And so I do miss that aspect behind it.
That's why you got time to sign up,
no,
Mike.
it's not happening. I'm not running again. If I ever run a race again, I want to be in good shape.
Just get out there and just set a blazing time on the half.
You know,
just do the half.
If I ever run any type of race again, I want to be in good shape. I don't want to do it the way that we did it. Like, I'm down 30 pounds right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say you look like you're in better shape.
Yeah,
how good of a shape do we need to get you in, man?
I'm down 30 pounds right now, but I do this thing every year. Like, I was probably down 30 pounds. I was probably the same weight that I am right now around this time last year as well.
Yeah.
Because I do this. I yo-yo about 30 to 35 pounds every single year. I'm currently down 30. I would like to get down another 30 to 40 pounds and just be, and if I ever can get to the point to where, that's my goal fitness-wise right now.
Yeah.
And adding on like a marathon or that type of stuff, it just doesn't work for me because I eat so much.
Yeah.
Like Sonny and I did a 5K a day in May.
Yeah.
And we finished it and everything like that. I probably gained 15 pounds.
Yeah.
Because I'm so hungry all the time.
Well, that's been my issue. Like Lawrence has gotten in really great shape over the last couple of years. He's hitting the gym like every day of his life. Like before his taping, like anytime he had nerves, he was just hitting the gym. And so he was just getting like when you look at him, he's got like muscles, man. He's like cut up now. And we were talking about that, and he's like, well, you're running all the time. And I was like, yeah, but you don't get it, man. It's like, just because you run doesn't mean you lose weight.
No weight.
I was like, it's actually, I feel like it's harder for me. I'm not running anymore to lose weight. I'm running because I like the running, but the losing weight part would help the running. And then I've just had to realize, just my age, it's like the realization of just how hard my metabolism has crashed.
Yep.
I feel like I've spent 5 to 6 years just accepting that, I'm going to eat this pint of ice cream this Saturday. It undoes, 2 weeks worth of work. Yeah. Like, it's like, oh, yeah, that's it now. Now I feel like crap, and that was like 5 pounds somehow.
And at our age, you have to, the diet is more important than the workout. Yeah. And when you're running, it's hard to also follow a good eating plan.
Well,
from the 2 years that I did it,
I've been having to tell myself, just because you're running, you don't need to eat.
Yeah.
Like there's plenty on your body for your body to eat.
Yeah, I just couldn't get full, like especially when it got to the point to where we were doing those like 12-mile runs, and you're running 12 miles on Sunday, on Big Run Sunday, and for the next like 3 days I was just constantly hungry, and I'm eating everything that I can find to fuel up. That's
where I'm struggling the most, is telling myself, if I run on Sunday, on Monday and Tuesday, like, hey, fat ass, like, you don't need that.
You're fine.
Yeah, you probably need another bottle of water is what this is. You're probably dehydrated from sweating all that out. Because I was weighing myself every day, not for weight loss, but just to see, you weigh yourself after those big runs, you're like, whoo, I'm down like 6 pounds, know? And, a gallon of water, I think, weighs, like 8 pounds or something. So, on one long run, you could lose anywhere between 5 to 10 pounds, right? And so I would weigh myself daily to see, am I getting rehydrated like this day, the next day? And I think it takes me like 2 to 3 days to get back hydrated again. Because I'll be like, all right, I lost some weight. And then boom, it comes right back. And I'm convinced, especially now I'm riding a bicycle, getting prepared for that 100-mile run. And Wichita Falls, the Hotter Than Hell 100. And so my rides are outside in the summer right now. I'll get up in the morning and do it, but it's still hot. And so you come back from that, you're out there for 3 hours on a bike just sweating.
Yeah.
And you're thinking like, ooh, I'm feeling lean, And then by, Wednesday, you're like, I feel like a fat ass again.
You know what I'm doing for activity right now? Well, one, I'm lifting and just doing a tiny bit of cardio, maybe like 20 minutes after I lift. So Vinny has put together like a weekly, Vinny Corrales, weekly basketball game.
I've seen that.
And I've gone out there the last 3 or 4 weekends. You should come out sometime.
I was thinking about it. I don't know if my wife will let me take on another thing, but I'm really thinking about it because my son he's 4. He just did his first basketball season.
Oh, yeah?
And I played basketball in high school. And, I wasn't anything great, but I enjoy playing, right? Now like at his practices and stuff, you're out there like shooting the ball a little bit.
Yeah, dude.
You're starting to feel a little bit, you're talking to the wife. You're like, watch these free throws. Watch these.
So I've been going out there, and I'm the oldest person almost every single
So
time.
you just want another old person out
come
there.
on, I need
got
another. I'm the oldest person, and a couple of weeks ago, man, like we played. There was only like 5 of us that came out there.
Yeah.
So we played like 7 2-on-2 games, and I never set out. And I was like, why all you 24-year-olds
Yeah.
that are in shape?
Because, dude, they're all vaping and drinking late
No,
night.
dude, these are all guys that are in shape.
These are real
that
athletes.
were playing, right? And I'm like, can I like let me get a little break? And they're all hustling like crazy.
Yeah.
I can hold my own when I'm on offense. I'll score, but I am a liability on defense.
Are y'all doing full court or half court?
Well, just half court because it's
Half court.
2-on-2.
Yeah.
One time we did 3-on-3.
Oh, y'all were doing 2-on-2.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So in 2-on-2,
well, that's a lot more
is
work.
So active.
Yeah.
You're moving around like crazy, and these guys are all like high energy guys, and they're all
Yeah.
wiry and jumping like crazy.
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, I got 5 jumps a game.
Yeah, you know what? I remember you talking on your show. You and Sonny talking about how you got a guy who like was an athlete.
Yes.
And like you were holding your own on offense or defense, and then when it switched, it was like, oh shit,
Well,
it's getting a little tougher now. I remember you talking about it now.
D1 receiver, like
That's
not
what it was.
even just like it's Sean. You know Sean Lee? Have you met Sean?
Sean Lee, man, it sounds so familiar, but I don't think is he a comic?
Yeah.
Okay,
'Cause
sorry, Sean.
they're all comics.
Okay.
He's kind of newer. He's probably like 2 years in, maybe.
Okay, maybe I haven't watched him yet.
He's funny. I've seen him.
So he was
done
a
couple
D1
shows with-
athlete?
Yeah, he played.
Well, and
Division I
we've talked
football.
about that multiple times of like, once you hit D1 athlete, it doesn't matter if you threw a shot put. You're just better at
There's-
all sports.
Yeah, and there's just the mentality that you're doing.
you're a competitor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
you have muscle memory that never goes away, especially if you're a receiver.
Yes.
So you can run, you can jump.
And why are you guarding me? Like that's
Yeah.
what I, like he
Yeah.
decided. And so what was funny about it is my whole thing was like, I just don't want to be embarrassed on defense.
Of course.
I don't want to be crossed over. I don't want anything to happen.
Yeah.
So there was a couple. I mean, he was great, but there was one moment where I had an oh shit moment because the ball went pretty far down half court and he went to run and get it.
Uh-huh.
So in half court, there's not very many opportunities where you're like going full steam.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Well, he's got a full head of steam because he went and got the ball.
He's
and
coming
I was like backpedaling, like, oh shit. This is where it happens. And he just, this is where it happens. Like in my mind, it's like, this is where I get embarrassed by these guys.
Yeah.
This is where I get made fun of for the next 6 months because of this. Like
Yeah.
in my, I was like backpedaling, like doing like perfect
This is
defensive
where
stance.
and this is where someone's filming right when
Yeah.
you fall on your ass.
Perfect defensive stance. And luckily, by the grace of God, he fumbled the ball somehow. Like I didn't do anything.
I didn't even think it was going to be that. I thought you were going to say like, luckily he passed.
Yeah,
Like,
like luckily, like he tried to go between his legs or something, and he just kind of lost his handle. So it was almost like I made a defensive play, but I did not at all. But I remember that was the one moment. And there was another time where he just kind of took the ball off the dribble.
Oh, yeah.
And like I was like, God, your quickness.
Yeah.
Like never in my life would have I ever been able to get in front of
you
that.
mean shooting right off the dribble?
No, like he just like he was like he only went to the lane a handful of times where he
okay.
actually like used his entire like twitchiness.
Yeah.
And he just like 3 dribbles, he's already at the goal. I was like, why did that happen?
Yeah.
And I was like, why am I guarding him? Yeah.
Well, it's like, okay, I mean, like with this running thing, this go around, I've been doing a lot of sprints because you see those reels, those TikToks about like people after a certain age never sprint again in their life.
Yeah.
And you're just like, fuck, I'm not gonna be that guy. I got a 4-year-old. I'm not gonna be that dad who's not athletic in some way. I don't need to be doing crazy stuff. So it's like I'll go to the track and I'll do sprints down that. So when he did this league of basketball, that was the other thing I realized. I was like, I don't jump very much anymore. And that should be something at my age. It's like jumping should not be like a ho, watch out, because like just shooting around, I was thinking like, man, I used to elevate when I did a jump shot.
Yeah.
Right. And now I'm doing that late 30s 2-inch hop, Mark Cuban down at the Y,
We played a game we played a game of 21, and it was after we had played like 3 games.
Yeah.
Because now we had like an odd number. It's like, let's just play 21, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the ball, someone was shooting their free throws, and I was the only one around.
Mm-hmm.
And we had played 3 games. My body was done at this point. And I made this like noise as if I jumped, but I did not jump. I was like, ah! Because I knew that if I jumped right there, like I was not getting, like it was over with.
Yeah.
because it's not the jumping that I'm worried about. It's the landing.
It's the landing. Yeah.
Like 100%. But I've done it like 3 or 4 weeks now, so I'm starting to feel a little bit better. Like I feel.
Well,
like
even
I'm
with
playing.
the running, it's like I'm doing way more warm ups. I'm trying to one of the things I'm trying to incorporate, because you were talking about lifting weights, and that really is going to be the key to me losing weight. The running's fine, but building muscle, even if it's not mass, just building muscle. I say it like I bulk up. It's like it's so hard to build muscle, but you know what I mean. It's like just doing body squats, push-ups, pull-ups, those things. It's like you get strong.
What we talked about when we were going to remember after we ran the first marathon and then we did kowtow. Remember in the group, I was like, we all need to be doing this lift. We need to be doing all this stuff.
I'm going to be doing 35 burpees every day. And
a lot of squats, a lot of lunges.
But I am doing body squats. And it's like you do start thinking about like, I got to keep my knees in shape, because I'm not going to be one of these people who does a jump shot and blows out their ACL. Like that's so, I know it happens, but it's like, I'm not going to, now's the time where you strengthen it so that you're going to be 60 years old and you're still capable of like getting out there and like not being serious, but like you can hold your own.
That's like my dad will turn 71 at the end of this month.
Yeah.
And he's such in good shape.
Yeah.
And it's because he's always worked out my entire life.
You got to just keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know you've seen that joke where it's like, I work out so hard just to keep this really mid body.
Yeah.
Like, but it's true. It's like, I don't want to, we're trying to have a second kid, and it's like, there are so many older dads now. And it's like, I'm not going to be the older dad who's like, well, it's like my dad just started walking on a treadmill and stuff again. And he's like, he's not that old. Like he's, I think he's 68, 69.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I started walking. He's like, yeah, man, you should. And it's like, I'm trying to convince him to lift weights and stuff. Cause it's like, you're not, just cause you're retired. It's like, I had a chat with him. His mother, my grandmother, lived till 98. And had she not had a fall and we put her in a home, I think she would have made it over 100. But once she went into a home, she was independent until 98. She was living in her house by herself.
Yeah, so if he follows that, he's got 30 years
That's
of life left.
It's exactly what I told him. I go, you do realize you potentially have 30 more years. And that's assuming medical science doesn't have any massive breakthroughs that makes us incredibly healthy.
Yeah.
Right? And he's like, oh. I was like, yeah, dude, so go lift the weights, like keep it light. I was like, you got 30 years to build up your weightlifting routine. You could be jacked at 80 years old, and it's like to think another 30 years. And he's not like weak or decrepit or anything. Like he, like when I saw him last, he bought a new home and we were ripping out the carpet together in it. So like, he's not like immobile or anything, but just thinking like, just getting out of that mindset of like, yeah, I know you're in your late 60s, but that doesn't mean you're at risk of tripping over this curb and breaking your hip every day,
With the fear of sounding douchey, I was saying, like doing all this work for like a mid bod. Right now, I'm in the mindset that by the time I turn 40, so I have a year and a half, that I want to be in the best shape of my life.
Yeah,
and like I want to be almost to the point to where it's like undeniably nice. Like I want like
I think you can easily do it.
So
well, I was thinking about it really hard because where I'm at now, athletically, I am so much more resilient and mentally stronger than like me in shape at 17 years old playing varsity basketball.
Well, and think about
that guy was more athletic.
Yeah.
But I feel like I am, like if I had this mental mindset then, the amount of ways I could have dominated, I think, in different things, because now it's like, now we're getting all this done with like careers, families, wives, kids. And like, you don't have time to devote. So when you do go work out, it's like, we got to get on it, right?
Yeah.
I need to go on this, the Saturday before, I'm trying to build up my mileage for this 100-mile ride. So it's like, I got to go out and do 50 miles. And we got to get 50 miles done. And for me, that takes just over 3 hours. And it's like the 17-year-old me would not have done 3 hours of athletics of any kind.
No.
Right? You're really
you might have gone
hour and a half.
Basketball.
Yeah, but you're taking breaks, you're chilling, you're hanging out. And so I feel like I have the mindset to be in better shape than that guy now. It's just getting it done.
It's harder to do it because of the time commitment and just because of your metabolism and your age. But I mean, even think about like the marathon thing. So Kevin, if you're listening to this, if you listen to Travis's podcast, which you should, it's sponsoring you to run a marathon. Kevin, if you're listening, and we'll find out if you're not, The majority of that run is mental.
Yeah, I'm trying not to tell him. Like, I don't want to just start throwing out all this unsolicited advice.
Yeah, well, I'm doing it. You didn't ask for it, Kevin, and I'm giving.
I think I already told him, like, it's mental. Like, if you want to do it, you're going to do it.
It's so mental because I think that.
Dude, think of the people you saw that finished that.
Dude,
that you would have swore you never would have finished it.
I tore both my hamstrings at mile 9. You know what I mean? And
I will never forget the image of you kind of stiff-legged running where you're like kind of swinging
for 20 miles. I mean, for 13 miles or whatever. And
then just I still, because when we're going around White Rock, it's like that's the area I'm always riding and running. That's my little area. And that's where I caught up to Sonny.
And him going,
yeah, and he's just literally like, we're doing this yo-yo thing where I keep passing him and he keeps passing me, and he would get past me and he'd get up there and he'd try to keep it going, but I think he was cramping really bad.
Yeah.
Wasn't he? He had to get like some salt pills or something.
See, and I didn't know that until we did the recording on your podcast to talk about it.
Right.
I thought he hurt his ankle.
No,
you know what I mean?
Because I'd have to listen again, but I thought he said
no. You're right. It was his cramps. I just didn't know that.
And then y'all's buddy who had done ultras before threw y'all some salt pills, and it kind of helped y'all, right? But that's when he was ahead of me a little bit, and you just hear him going, ah! It's just like this guttural just scream, and you're like, God, dude, are you okay? And he's like, ah.
Well, he did the half. He did the Dallas half last year.
Oh, that's right.
And he ran it in like. He ran like a 10-minute and 50-second pace.
Well, I remember he got through the first part when we did it. He had some, because that's what messed me up a little bit, is he went out of the gate hot. And
we all did for that first 3 miles.
And we're all three like trying to hold up. And then you and me hung back for a little bit. We're like, let's just let him do his thing, because we're burning out fast here. So yeah, I think he can be fast on when he wants to be. But again, it's the same thing. It's like finding the time to do legit training. It's like every now and then you'll run across like a triathlon influencer or something, and they're like, how I managed to get all this done. And it's like they'll openly just say like, I inherited wealth. I have no job, I have no family, no pets. Like,
I live with my parents.
Yeah, and it's like finally somebody who's honest about this.
I live with my parents. They do the grocery shopping.
Yeah,
and all my meals are prepared.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna have to crack down on. Is it's all this shit everybody already knows. It's the discipline of meals, and then I dream of someday being that person who does the morning workout, 4 a.m. wake up time, get out there, knock it out, and get it done with.
Yeah.
But it's just I've always just been like a night workout person.
I have a hard time in the morning because I'm just not. I get up early every single day.
Yeah,
but
I can get up and go to work.
I'm just not awake to like work out.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of late night workouts.
Yeah.
Right now,
I like the late night thing. I mean, my favorite workout is always the weekend, morning, afternoon, or not morning, but late morning, early afternoon. That's my favorite. That's when I feel the best. But the grinded out workouts, like late at night, it's like I'll go to that track over in Highland Park. There's just this free track over there, and it's not a school or anything. It's just like a neighborhood. It's the rich part of town over there. Yeah. And you can just get these workouts, and it's great. But I forgot. I was talking about how if they had any medical advancements, that we might be living longer, right? And I was thinking about this. They think they're going to crack gene editing at some point, right? So we might be the first generation that lives as long as we want to.
I don't want that.
It could happen. Like you could live in good health, right? Because we can edit out disease and these things, right? With your genes, it could happen. But I was thinking about all the different dynamics of like life that would change when you could live for 700 years.
That would be terrible. I can't even.
And you don't have to answer this because I don't want to get you any hot water or anything. But I was talking to my wife about it. But it's like, I wonder how that would even change marriage, relationships, those types of things.
You're not marrying someone for 700 years.
Yeah, but what I wonder is, do you get hatefully divorced because you're sick of each other, or are you just like, I think if we get a 60-year run, then we end our contract is for this long now.
Yeah, maybe.
And then we see if we want to. And then we see if we want to re-up.
Maybe you sign a 100-year contract.
Like maybe it's like a lease, right?
Yeah, or whatever.
Yeah, and just like buying a home. It's like now you can. It's like we've had the home paid off for like 150 years. We were thinking about upgrading, and now you can buy like a $7 million home because you can put it on like a 400-year mortgage. They're just all the different, like the amount of career changes you would have because you just have time. There's no rush because we do everything right now on like a 70 to 100-year timeline, so you feel rushed.
I got to
you feel
do this by this
pressured,
time.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because you wouldn't be a stand-up comic for 150 years.
I mean, think of how many specials you'd have to
You
pump
might
out.
dip in and out, but I mean, you would just get how many? I mean, then I don't know. The whole world would be so different. Like things would crumble, right? You know, and all these new things would come up. But I was thinking a lot of just about marriage. You know, she got mad because I was like, one day I was like, you better watch it. Like we're playfully arguing about something. I was like, you be careful because when you hit 200. I might trade you in for some young 80-year-old or something,
Might give me a 150-year-old girl. You better watch out. What's funny about that too, though, is I think about I was like, you didn't really have to up that 401k. There'd be no. When would you retire?
That's what I'm saying. Like you would crumble some systems, right? So there would be no retirement.
No,
that can't exist anymore. You
Yeah.
can't have somebody who worked for 65 years get paid out for 450 years.
No, and you wouldn't be able to like stretch it out anyways.
Totally
Social
done.
Security would be gone.
But also, it would be easier to live because healthcare would be like you wouldn't have as much disease if we figured that out, right?
That's true.
So that whole field would just shrink drastically.
Yeah.
It would just be trauma, like you got in a car accident, you fell off a cliff or something. And then the whole concept of like choosing when you're ready to die.
Yes, it'd just be suicide.
Or you just stop getting your genes touched up or whatever it is. You just decide like there'd be like a whole massive section of people who are all timeless, like we always look 35, 40,
Would you
whatever.
just be wrinkly still though? Like what would you look like?
No, because that's just aging, right? So if they aging is like on a basic term, right, is cell death, right? Like old people's skin gets thinner because their skin cells aren't reproducing like they used to, right? And then like your eyes go because those cells aren't there. Like the cells are failing. So if you can figure out how to stop that or rejuvenate those cells, then no, I think we might have to have laws. It's like no, you're not allowed to go back to before 21 years old. That's the furthest back you can de-age yourself.
Yeah. What age would you want to stay at?
I mean, I like my age now. I don't have any issue with where I'm at now. Like, I bet most people would go back into their 20s. That seems like most people's prime. But I think anything between like, I don't know. I mean, because mentally it doesn't matter. You still have all
you're
your
still your
experience.
mental.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I'd be fine staying like this because you have hundreds of years to work on yourself.
I think I would like to go back at 22 or 23.
That's fine.
Because your body's not really hurting at that point.
Okay. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah. So that's fine. Yeah, we'll go back. I'll go to 25.
Yeah.
Just because you rejuvenate so much. But again, you don't have to think about that because the science is caught up. You might feel like you're 25 no matter what age you're at, right? All the normal disease things that you associate with aging are gone.
See, but I want the gray because I like the kind of the silver fox.
Well, they can just give you gray, though. They just be like, so we'll tweak it. Like, you want a little salt and pepper or you want it like all the way? Okay, that's how much we do.
Yeah, I like the zaddy.
It would almost be like you have an avatar.
Gosh, I kind of want this to happen.
It's wild to think about, right? But
yeah,
that's something that, like, with the advancements of AI in the medical field, that could get cracked.
Do you think, though, okay, so if that actually happened, you think, like, pro sports goes away? Or people would still just be more athletic than other people, right?
I think the bar, I mean, I don't know. Would it just be Tom Brady for 45 years, as the quarterback?
600 years.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, I think at some point he would just get bored. I think you would reevaluate. Okay, like at first, people would probably, a guy like him, maybe, or, Jordan comes back, right?
Well, he already did that anyways without the...
Yeah, but now he'd be, but then again, is that...
Just to be on his
is
seventh
that,
retirement.
is that like taking steroids? Is that an enhancement that you can't do? This is how it would all have to be discussed. It would change everything. And I think, let's say you worked your ass off for 150 years and now you're balling out of control. Like you cracked the code to making money. You paid your house off 70 years ago and you just stacking it up and money's now not an issue and you've got it. I mean, imagine being able to just casually invest into the stock market for 200 years. You would reach a point of financial independence that would be very unique for the common person to get to, right?
Yeah, there's always going to be richer people than other people.
But then I think eventually, don't you stop caring about that money at some point? Like after 300 years of massive wealth and work, and aren't you like, I don't want to do that anymore?
Absolutely.
Right? So then I'd think you wouldn't even care about like, I've been in the NFL for 200 years, you'd be like, I'm so over the NFL or whatever it may be, right?
How many records can I have?
Fuck, dude, if I see that field one more time, if I see that one more time, one more coin toss.
Imagine that they get to play for 200 years. The Cowboys still don't win a Super Bowl. Like they're still.
You would still have Jerry as an owner.
Oh yeah, you would.
Right? Think about that. And that's what I'm saying. Like the way life would go would be crazy. And like, what if you and your wife, you stay together, and you decide to renew your marriage lease for another 100 years, and you're got this 25-year-old body that we're talking about, and you're just like, I think maybe we have kids again. You want to do another round of kids? You
could do that. I'm sure that's what people would do probably.
So you might have like
about 25, 30 kids running around.
Yeah, over the span of a couple hundred years. It could get weird.
Could be super weird. You could have grandkids younger than or older than your kids.
I mean, think about the technology we've experienced our lifetime. That would seem absolutely insane if you explained that 100 years ago.
Yeah. Think about...
I don't think this is that far away.
Well, we'll see what happens, Travis. I don't want it to happen in my life.
You don't think so?
I don't think I can handle that.
I think I'd want to live for a long time.
Not me.
I would like to live long enough for space flight to be so well done that you could leave the solar... Like, you could go places.
Yeah.
And be the equivalent of, taking a flight.
I used to not want to live. This was like when I was maybe in like my early 20s. Didn't want to live past about 65.
Why?
Because everyone that I had ever been around that was older at that age, they were so decrepit. But now that I've like know people, but then a few years later, I started meeting people in their 60s that were like vibrant and active. I'm like, okay, yeah, I could live to.
Yeah, but I think
80.
65-year-olds even just 30 years ago were.
I know
that way.
I think about the difference between my parents and my grandparents.
Yeah.
And the activity that my parents do. My dad is nonstop in his yard. And I'm talking like he's growing vegetables. He's planting trees. He's doing like intense work every single day. He plays golf like 3 or 4 times a week, but he doesn't ride the cart. He just walks.
Walking.
And my mom is walking miles and doing stuff like that. And they're chasing my kids around constantly. Like the difference between my grandma was watching TV. You know what I mean? Like she was, and she did like water aerobics, but that's not the intensity that my dad's doing and my mom. So it's different now.
I think those generations, like your grandma's generation, was just told more like, you just get old and you die. And you just get weak and that's it. That's life.
Well, have you ever seen like pictures of people that are our age from like 30, 40 years ago?
Yes.
They look so old.
They look old, right?
Like super old.
And then you see... Yeah, and it's like, is that just because we are getting older
no,
and we don't see it? But like, I do feel like that. Like now, when you see Gen Z or younger, they to me look like babies, even when they're in their 20s. They don't look older. But like like you said, when you look at somebody from 1970, and they're like, yeah, this is Sean at 18.
Yeah, and you're like,
he's on his way to the factory, and it's like. Damn, that looks like a 35-year-old dude right
I know,
there.
and then 35-year-old men like they're like 55.
Right.
And like, you could show me, like let's say they enhanced a picture to make it look like today's technology. You could put a 35-year-old from 1960 and put him next to a 35-year-old today's age, and the 35-year-old would look so much younger.
I can't remember what it is. You have to look up the age of the Golden Girls when that TV show was happening.
They're like in their 50s.
It's not as old as you think.
It's...
And now a 50-year-old woman now?
Yeah, you're like, what's up, girl?
50-year-old woman now is doing CrossFit.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the amount of 50-year-old influencers that are, like, crazy fit is insane.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah. I mean, dude, even RFK, how old is he?
I don't know.
He's old. Like... He's younger than Biden and Trump, I think, but he's still old because they're super old. But he's out there doing shirtless push-ups in his blue jeans.
Did you see, like, I saw something recently, like, Clinton is, like, younger than both Biden
George
and Trump?
W. Bush and Bill Clinton are both currently, right now, younger than Trump and Biden. And they seem old as shit. And they
ran, and
Clinton, that seems forever ago.
It was 30 years ago. Clinton was president 30 years ago.
Yeah.
That's not an exaggeration.
I don't think he tells it anymore, so that's the only reason I'm going to say it. But I watched Dustin Nickerson and Richardson years ago, like around the pandemic. So I think he's already put this on a special probably. But maybe one of the funniest jokes that was also like really depressing about America, excuse me, he was talking about his dad had turned 70 years old, and they were throwing like him a birthday party and stuff or whatever. And his I'm butchering the details, but basically his dad was bummed, and like he was bummed seeing his father dealing with age and all this stuff. And to cheer him up, he had to remind him. He's like, "Look, man, just like 8 more years and you can run for president."
Yeah,
it's like they're that fucking old right now. It's insane, and they're not the old we're talking about. It's like, I think in another 30 years, an 80-year-old might seem fit and healthy to run for that position, but not right.
They're not.
Not right.
So
Yeah.
But one of them's gone now, so that's all that matters. So that
Have you
helps.
heard the conspiracies that he's actually dead and that's a body double?
Oh yeah, I've heard that. I heard that on my podcast. I go conspiracy.
Oh, you
on
did?
purpose.
Okay.
Yeah, like I talked about like how
I don't think I've heard that episode yet.
I talked about how like I didn't think Trump was shot. I don't think he's the actual shooter. Or that
I
guy
heard you
was
talk about that a little bit.
About the guy wasn't the actual shooter, And then like,
what do you believe is the most realistic conspiracy? What do you think has really happened with the Trump thing? If you had to pick one to say this is most likely.
I don't think he was shot. I think he was shot at.
I think he was shot at.
But I think a piece of glass hit him.
Yeah.
That just because
I've seen pictures of his ear and it doesn't look like an ear that was shot.
Yeah.
Unless it's just fake pictures that we're all getting all the time.
Exactly.
Which you don't know.
I don't know, but it just doesn't seem like in real time when you saw it, because I saw it like.
And didn't he have an AK that he was shooting with? Like if that bullet grazed you, I feel like it would still take a little chunk.
One of my buddies who is gun horny and knows a lot about guns and stuff like that, he was saying, he's like, well, an AR-15 is not, it's just the type of gun. It's not the caliber of the bullet. So it could have been a small caliber bullet, right? That it wouldn't have like destroyed it. But just even, I mean, I think if you got shot in the ear, like direct hit shot, wouldn't you be down for the count a little bit more?
I mean, I
than
think
that?
a graze to the ear would just leave. I'm trying to think of even how to explain it. It's like if I threw a punch at you and grazed your face, it's like there still would probably be like a mark.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, even if it didn't like blow your ear off, I feel like there would just be a little sliver that we'd be like, okay, definitely got shot. That's why I think like, okay, the bullet probably went. Like I would even believe that like, well, no, I don't believe that because I don't believe he was in on it. I don't think he's in on it.
No,
I think
that's too far of a conspiracy.
I don't believe he was in on it. I think a bullet went by him. Either something from the bullet, a little fragment, or something that it hit, got him and put a little teeny cut on there. And when he grabbed it, it smeared a little more blood and made it look worse, right? But
hey, but still a very traumatizing experience.
yeah, he still got shot at what? Three times?
Absolutely.
Okay, so
extremely traumatizing.
That was still an attempted assassination in my mind. But it's just when you see the videos of him, like, hey, there's a guy up there on the roof, and it's like, if you're Secret Service, don't you like do a leg shot or something and get this guy? Like everything is justified at that point.
The Secret Service is in on it.
I believe that, dude, because I think look, we're here in Dallas, man. I think it's a pretty reasonable conspiracy that a government agency killed Kennedy.
Yeah, possibly.
That's
right?
I think you could not rule that out, that they had a hand in letting that happen. So I could see, I don't know if the Democratic Party would do it, but I could see like, because he had beef with like the CIA and all those people, remember? I could see people being like setting it up without either the Republican Party or the Democratic Party knowing, but maybe the Secret Service and the CIA or somebody knew like something's going to happen.
I really hope that that's not the case. I much rather it be that it was negligence.
They're just so incompetent.
Yes, and incompetency. Than thinking that our country, like, when people talk about like how 9/11's an inside job, it's like, I can't even fathom that. Like,
it's so funny you bring that up. That's the only other conspiracy where I'm like, maybe.
Really?
It's just, there's so much of it that's so strange. But it's just hard to, like, the moment you start thinking about that, about 9/11, I start feeling like I'm a little too close to like flat earthers. I don't want to ever go too heavy. But like, there's a couple buildings where you're like,
that's weird.
That's a little strange.
I guess my thing with it is like, I don't want to believe it, because if we live in a world where our government would kill 3,000 people for whatever the fuck that they were doing that for, that's like, well, then I don't want to live here. And so I don't want to live in that world.
But there have been, I'd have to look it up and send it to you later, but I think if you look up all of our major wars, there have been instances of lies like that helped us engage into a war.
Yeah, but killing 3,000 people? And the way they were killed?
I mean, think about what happened in like Vietnam, though. That was really horrific. And we found out later, it's like, oh yeah, we had no business being there.
Yeah, but that's different. That's getting into a war. I get that.
Sure. But then think about like after 9/11, we didn't go after the people that did that.
No.
We went to other countries that had resources we wanted.
Yes.
So it's like,
We just went to countries that looked like them.
yeah, but it's like you don't think there's a couple people in this country that would let 3,000 people die if it helped make them billionaires.
Maybe.
I think there's a couple pieces of shits that would do that.
I just think that, obviously there's serial killers,
like,
right?
Well, and like, the stuff we don't even know that might have went on at Epstein's Island.
Yeah.
That already seems like no. And that they have been arrested for that. That is now, it's like you're living in a world where a crazy person like Alex Jones said something that we were all like, he's a crazy person. And then he said a lot of crazy things that were way off and wrong, but he did talk about Epstein's Island and everybody thought he was a kook. And then it comes out and it's real. And it's like, yeah, because I wouldn't believe that there would actually be like a pedophile island that was, but there was. And so I'm about to start this book about how they were doing, I haven't gone through the book yet, but it's about Charles Manson, how they were doing LSD studies on people, the government was, to try to train killers. And
I've heard about that.
So if they'll do those things, it's like, I don't know.
All right, you convinced me. Inside job.
I mean, I don't know. It could, but then again, it's like my wife and I, we talk about how like we feel so old because everything in the world right now feels like the bar has been lowered all the time, right? You just go to pick up food somewhere and it feels like service, pride in work, everything is just constantly dropping, which is like a very old person thing to say, right? But it's like, well, if you feel like it's that way with a lot of things, why wouldn't it be that way in government? Why wouldn't it be that way with the Secret Service? Why wouldn't it be that way where it's like maybe they were just really, really incompetent?
Yeah, well, it seemed like they were.
Yeah.
I mean, it was...
And it could be like a combination, right? It could be somebody playing something and they're also bumbling idiots, you know?
Or Trump's also an actor, and that was, a body double as well, and it was all fake.
Maybe. I don't know.
No, it's definitely not.
I don't think that. That seems a little more far-fetched.
Yeah, no. I don't think the Democrats or the Republicans had anything to do about it.
No.
I don't think anyone cares that much. I understand what you're saying, like, could people do something like that to make billions of dollars? Yes, but to run the country, no. I don't think the election matters that much.
He talked a lot of smack. Remember, he had a bunch of beef with like the FBI and the CIA.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of beef with everybody. Except for the ones that are doing homecoming parades.
If you're in those organizations though, and you're thinking, this guy's about to be president again, he's going to be all up our ass about all this stuff all the time, and right now Biden and them, like, they leave us alone. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe
take a little shot. But it seems wild, but maybe.
Yeah.
And that's the hard thing is like you don't know anymore.
I just find it very odd that kid got away with anything. Like, it's just very,
I mean, you had to have seen all the joke videos where it's like dude's just carrying around a ladder and a gun. And he's like, "Oh, I'm just going to watch the president speak.
Yeah.
Don't mind me. Don't mind me." And it's like, yeah, I mean, I know these are like hyperbolic, but like the dude did climb on a roof with a gun.
I know.
We went to watch. I really liked a lot of Bernie Sanders stuff when he was running. Because I thought if he could overturn Citizens United, which allows corporations to donate to presidential campaigns and politicians, he was going to overturn that to where if you ran for office, it was only going to be donations from individuals. And I thought, man, that benefits everyone. And I liked that. But we went to go watch him speak at whatever they're calling the theater now in Grand Prairie.
Okay.
Dude, the security, I mean, like, I carry a pocket knife on me all the time just for whatever. I need to cut something every now and then. And so you forget you have it on you. It's like, of course, I show up to the speech, and it's like, so I had to walk that all the way back to the car. But, I mean, the security to get in to watch a candidate who had not been president before.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, we could not have gotten anything through here. Versus one of the most controversial presidents to ever exist.
Bill Clinton came and spoke at OU when I was there.
Yeah.
and that place was insane.
Was he an active president or was it
No,
after presidency?
I'm not that old.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Yeah, I didn't put together the timeline.
He came, and so did Hillary Clinton.
Did y'all go watch him?
No.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton came, I want to say, I can't remember if she came before or after him, but she came when she was running. So this is when she was in the primaries against Obama.
Yeah.
So it's like 07, 08-ish. But they came at two separate times. And when he came, the security on that campus was freaking insane. And it started the night before. It wasn't even the day of it. It already was. You couldn't park certain places the night before. They had all these different places shut down.
Yeah.
They had all the parking garages shut down. You couldn't go into it. They had different buildings that were a certain height shut down the night before so they could do all the sweeps.
Well, yeah. And it's like...
And he's not even running for president. He's just coming to speak.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, he wasn't doing anything controversial.
Yeah, like other than the loss of human life, and that's horrific on its own, it's like, it's not like the country's going to fall apart if he gets shot right now.
Yeah.
If they had that much security.
Absolutely.
So how can you climb on a
building?
building?
It doesn't make any sense.
And to be clear, like, I don't like Trump. I don't endorse him being shot at, obviously, but I am very surprised that this was the first attempt that ever happened.
It wasn't the first one.
Oh, really? There was a previous one?
There was one in like 2016 where shots, because that's what was also too weird about, if you watch when it happened in 2016.
I don't remember that one
I saw
at all.
a video they were showing it because they were
so this would have been when he was running the first time.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it wasn't to that level, obviously.
Okay.
But he was at a rally, there was gunshots heard. I don't think he was shot at.
Oh, okay.
And so they show the video of how the Secret Service reacted in 2016 compared to now, where they let him lift back up and then be in all broad daylight with his body completely covered.
Yeah.
And compared to 2016, that they covered him, they swarmed him, and they got him off the stage within less than 5 seconds.
I mean, that was the thing that appeared so odd. That's where it makes me think like
badass picture though, right?
Does the it'll go down as one of the most incredible political pictures ever. But like, you see those clips of like, who was it? Like Reagan got shot, right?
He's like, miss me.
But they like instantly, like you said, they swarm. These guys are throwing their bodies on top. And it's like when you watch the Trump one and you hear 1, 2, 3, like you hear the shots going.
Yeah.
And no one has dove on him yet. It's like, that's really strange. I thought that would be a huge part of Secret Service training, is like the moment you hear that, some of you are diving on him and accepting your fate that you might get shot and die right now, and some of you are hunting down the threat, right? Like I've never been trained, obviously, in Secret Service, but it seems like it would be something like that. Like the ones closest dive, right? And you were covering. And instead, it's like the guy got 3 shots off before they really...
And they weren't that quick either.
It wasn't...
It was like, bop, bop, bop.
Yeah, and it's like... An average person, I would think, you get confused of like, was that a gunshot? But I would think a Secret Service person is like, I know what all guns sound like.
I don't know. It was just...
I know what every gun... So that's when it comes back to like, is this an inside job or are they incompetent?
Just dumb.
Did they give them like the, barely got to see Secret Service people because the good ones are guarding, Biden right now? Like, I don't know, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. But my bingo card was... I was going to swear that Biden would die before the election, just natural causes, nothing sketchy, just old guy dies, and then Trump would be in jail. And
running the country?
Yeah.
Running the country from jail.
He can legally do it.
I know. That'd be great. That's just what this country needs.
But
it's kind of what we deserve right now.
He hasn't been
because we keep electing these people.
Yeah, don't get me started, man.
You know what I mean? We keep nominating them, so we deserve it. We deserve one of the candidates to pass away from old age and the other one to be in jail that runs our country.
I can't bring myself to vote for Trump just because at my core, like you can tell me anybody who's a Trump supporter can convince me about like, I will understand why you're voting for him. I'll hear your arguments and I'll be like, I get that those things matter to you and this is what you think he's going to do. And I get that you feel that that's important and he's going to accomplish this, whatever it may be, right? Like, if he were to be elected, I would hope he'd stop sending so much money to these wars overseas, right? That would be one of the things I would hope he'd do. But I just can't bring myself to vote for him because he just still seems like a garbage person.
That's my biggest thing.
And it's like 30, 40 years from now, I want to be able to say, like, I did not vote that ever.
I don't want him representing. I don't want him being the representation of because of who he is as a person. That's my biggest issue. It's I don't care. Like, first of all, he doesn't really talk about policies. All he does is shit talk. So,
Right.
So you know what I mean? All he does is like,
We're on the schoolyard. We're hyping up the fight after school.
So
Constantly.
talk to me about like actual and that's what like I have a hard time with the diehard Trump fans, not the ones that are just like voting, but here's the thing, and
The ones who are putting on the ear patches and seem very cultish and
miss me with that bullshit. For in 2016, I heard from people that were like, because I mostly have voted Republican in my life. Okay, I have not voted for Trump, and I will never vote for Trump. Miss me with that bullshit. In 2016, it was, well, he's lesser of two evil. Okay, I'll give you that.
Sure.
You didn't want him. You voted for someone else in the primaries. In 2020, you didn't usually, you don't have a primary, but you had a chance to vote him out in 2024, and you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So stop trying to tell me that it's just the lesser of two evils, because you had about 8 opportunities. You like him, and that's fine. Just be honest with yourself.
Right.
You like the guy. You like that he's a bully. You like that he says crazy things. You like that he
they
makes
self-identify because they want to be able to act like that.
Yeah.
Like if they run across one of their haters, they want to be able to like put a sick burn on them and still achieve everything they want to achieve. And it's like what he does is so rare to what the average person would ever be able to do in real life. So it's like, it's like whenever you dream of quitting that crappy job and you're going to go out in a blaze of glory. And when the time comes, you still just put in your 2 weeks and quit like normal because you need to get another job. Right. Whereas he's the guy who will go out in the blaze of glory. And so you're kind of living through him a little bit. But that's not a good enough reason to be president in my mind, and you're still like, it's like, yeah, does he seem like wild enough that Putin may not test us while he's there compared to Biden? Yeah, maybe. But that seems like a crazy
reason.
Yeah, that's not good enough for me. But then on the
He
flip,
is funny though.
I mean,
He's super funny.
it's an entertaining
Like
dude.
he's definitely like
Like I said, it's like I don't disagree with 100% of the things. Like these people who are like, he's Hitler and all that. It's like,
no, he's not Hitler. Let's be real.
He's a grifter who's he was handed an opportunity that he's running with.
Yes.
Okay.
And
it's
he's
like,
smart as shit.
Yeah, I don't.
He's not dumb. He's very smart. Everything he does is calculated. He knows what he's doing. He's a great marketer.
And I'll give you this: he won 2016 fair and square.
Yep.
And he did what other candidates wouldn't do, which is these places that felt disenfranchised. He went and spoke to them. Now, I think everything he said was bullshit, but he did go see them. He spoke to them. He made them feel like you matter to me and you don't matter to Hillary.
Yeah.
That's why she didn't show up. She thinks she's got it locked down. She called you a bunch of dumb coal miners or whatever. And I'm here speaking to you. I'm the common man,
Yeah.
It's like, which is wild. That's a whole other thing.
That's the craziest thing to me.
So
ever.
because he is intelligent. He convinced all these blue collar, middle class or lower folks that the nepotism rich kid from New York somehow has their best. I mean, we're in Texas, right? It's like, how many times did you see that Pace Picante commercial? New York City,
Yeah.
And or like, do you remember the I think it was Wolf Brand chili, where it's like, I think it might have been them, where it's like you would show the guy from, the business guy or something, like eating chili weird or something, or like having the wrong kind or something.
Yes.
So it's like that trope was going on forever, and then all of a sudden they're like, no, he's like us.
He's just like us. He speaks for us.
Yeah,
What?
and it's like, so that intelligence alone of like, dude, you pulled it off.
Yes.
You did it, man.
He's so smart because he knew like it was like, you're like so intelligent and everything he says is calculated. Everything he does is calculated.
Yeah, it feels like he's spontaneous, but it's like he has thought these things before that speech.
Yeah.
He has thought these things before that debate of like, well, if I get into the it's exactly the way you guys as comics have your list of crowd work slams if you need them.
Yep.
If it's this type of person, if it's this type of situation, right?
Where everyone thinks, oh my God, he made that off the cuff.
Yeah.
No, I asked the question a certain way, or I set the joke up a certain way that I know that the crowd can react one of 2 to 3 ways from it, and it's going to sound like because they did that, I came off of that off the top of my head. Nope, I didn't. I wrote that it was a choose your own adventure, and I was going to go with it. But I will say this. He knows how to talk to his crowd, and the Democrats are just as bad. And, you know what I mean?
Well, in terms of like trust, it's like, I'm not voting for Biden, Harris, whoever they put up there, unless it was like a major change, because I'm just so sick of them doing this. They're just cramming down these candidates. They're force feeding you these people, and their only selling point is not Trump.
Or just even like, I'm not gonna. They're both talk about abortion. That's all they talk about.
That's it.
There's other things in our life that matters, right?
Yeah.
That's what
And that is also like that is an important topic that we need to sort out. Right?
Yeah.
Because each side wants to believe like there is the one answer and the one answer only, all or none. And it's like, I think in this country, believe it or not, if anything, with Trump and Hillary, Trump and Biden, like over the last 8 years, I think we have learned there is pretty much a 50-50 split right now of social beliefs, political beliefs, religious beliefs. We're about 50-50 right now. And that's part of the problem is you have a country of 50-50 that wants to go all or none.
Yeah, it's everyone's extremist. Everything is. I always make it like that. It's politics has turned into like OU Texas.
Yeah,
right. Like OU hates Texas. Texas hates OU, and there's no common ground.
Yeah,
and it's like, well, that's not how we should be running our country.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to do I've talked about this for a few years. Like, I want to do a documentary. Okay. Where it's going to take years to do it, like something that's over like a 20-year, and you follow one government person, the government like candidate, and for whatever, like I don't know what it is, and all they do is they just switch parties every time they run, and they just talk about one like one hot button issue.
Okay.
And that's all they talk about. Anytime you ask him.
So like this one person's going to talk about gun control, right?
Gun control. And
so when they flip-flop, are they also flip-flopping their ideals?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And and just see how they can get votes. They just get votes because we as a masses, we're so freaking stupid that no one listens to, like, it's all like the left wants to talk about gun control. They want to take your guns. No, they just want to like change some rules.
Yeah.
The right, all they want to do is they want to give babies guns. What? No, they
and
don't.
It's like no, when you talk to these gun owners and they talk about like, no, we believe in educating our children about weapons so they don't hurt themselves. It's like, well, that seems pretty logical. And it seems like just like abortion, it seems like gun control is probably very difficult because it's probably a very case-by-case basis.
Absolutely.
That's hard to make blanket laws about, where it's like, yeah, we shouldn't be giving handguns straight out of the womb, but also like we shouldn't be denying guns in the country either. It's like, if anything, you do see how government overreach could be a real thing, and how if you have people have guns, that people might think twice about it. Maybe not because they have drones and stuff and they can take you out anytime they want, but maybe, right? And then the few situations here where it's like somebody was about to get carjacked or something and they could defend themselves.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think that happens every day, like gun advocates want to say, but it is a real scenario where you're like, if this person's trained on how to use it, it seems reasonable.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's like, what happened to the compromise?
And I have buddies that are like real pro gun.
Yeah.
I'm not anti-gun at all. I think you should be allowed to have guns. Get your guns. I just think they just need to have different rules about how you get them.
Yeah.
But I have many friends that are like way pro gun, that they're like, dude, if it meant that there was never another school shooting again, I'd give away my AR-15.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and so, but we made it so black and white that everyone has to attack anyone that doesn't 100% agree with you. And that's why I'd love to make that documentary where you just have this person that is consistently flipping their stuff and just getting all the Republican votes, all the Democrat votes, and all they do is talk about one issue.
Well,
and say nothing else.
You know, here in a couple months or sooner even, we're going to start seeing all the horrible TV ads that look like they were made by a middle school, AV club. And it's got the same cheesy, like if it's an ad for Trump, it'll be like, Harris did this, bum, 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 right? And if it's an ad for Harris, it'd be like, Trump allowed this, dun, 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 dun. And it's the same, like, black and white, bad stuff, red letters, slamming over something. And then when they finally get to the end of the ad, it's going to show whichever candidate it is in, like,
with
a power
eagle.
pose. Yeah, eagle behind them. All of a sudden, we're in full color, and it's like, choose so-and-so for the better of the country. And it's like, they still make those because apparently they fucking work.
I know. Who's watching that?
Who is swayed by that? But they are. They really, truly are. And it's like people still are swayed by a soundbite, a headline, a crappy commercial. So, yeah, it would be a pretty interesting documentary.
Yeah.
You got to get with some. There's like local filmmakers here. You could find people, but I guess the hard part is you got to be invested.
You got to be invested, and you got to find the person that's willing to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It would almost have to be like a prank show type thing, where it's like you're an actor. You know what I mean? Like you're willing to do it.
They might kill you.
Yeah. You never know.
I mean, I definitely believe they. I believe if you try to make any real change in this world, like if you were a billionaire and you attempted to like take down some industry like that had deep political, ties. I mean, it would be so easy for them if they didn't want to just take you out. It would be so easy for them to just discredit you, right? It's like, oh, we found a hard drive with child pornography on it.
Yeah.
So we're gonna bring you up on those charges.
But it would be more.
And what's your defense? Like, that's not mine.
Yeah.
Like,
It would be more. The documentary would be more of like at the point of like not to show you like how bad the system is, but just how dumb we are as a society. I also would like to make a documentary about people standing in lines and just going places in different areas,
just starting random lines.
Yeah, and just watching people stand in lines for nothing.
Yeah,
like I think that would be a lot of fun. Did
you ever used to do the old trick where you'd stop and stare and point at the sky?
I don't think so.
You should try that sometime. It's really fun. We used to do it all the time when I was young, but you're just anywhere you want. If there's a group of people around you, like, don't you guys like going to Disney? Next time you're at Disney, just stop somewhere and like look up at the sky and like really intently and just, like point, up there and like keep looking. And then 5, 6, 7, a group of people will just start looking up at what you're looking at and they'll all just be looking for something. No, and most of them aren't like, what are you looking at? They're just also looking. And then you just walk off while they're still looking at things.
I'll do it at Disney when we go. We're going in the end of September, so I'll do it.
If you did it and you got a good, even amount of both sides, maybe something like that would help show people like, hey, we're all being duped.
We're all ridiculous.
It's not this side. It's not that.
No.
It's all of us.
We're all pretty close, a lot closer than we think.
Of course.
It's just these and they're smart. The people are smart. They're fooling you.
Yeah.
I don't even think... Like, they know that we care so much about abortion. Mm-hmm. Like, they know that let's use gun control. They know we care so much about gun control. So they go extreme when they talk about it. Yeah. The Republicans are okay with your kids being killed in schools. Right. No, they're not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I hope not.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, the Democrats are so bad. They want to take all your guns away and take away all your freedoms.
Yeah.
No, they don't.
They want you to live in cubicles and eat potatoes the rest of your life. And it's like, I don't think it's that way either.
They're communists. They're socialists, right?
Yeah.
They're baby killers. It's the guys. No, we're not. No one is that. I don't think that it's to that case. Now, so anyways, I'm
with you. I mean, my soapbox is we're just in this age of corporate greed that's just destroying us on all sorts of fronts, right? And it's not even necessarily just corporate greed. I think it's just everybody's greed, right? And I'm guilty of the same things. It's like, I bought, like the new truck maybe too soon. Maybe I should have waited a few years before I got something, right? Or you buy a house that's more expensive than what you really think you should get, right? We all do that stuff, right? But it stems from this whole, like, they have made us these consumers.
Yeah.
They've convinced us we need so much junk, right? And as millennials, it's like, well, I don't know about your parents with your dad's background, I don't know, but like my family, all the people I know, it's like they were all hoarders. They all bought so much junk for their homes all the time. And that's the joke about why like millennials are really big into like minimalism, because we're all just scarred from all the knickknacks all around our house everywhere. But point being, they taught us like buy things, make money, buy things constantly. And so right now it's like they're selling us this, inflation. And meanwhile, all these corporations are having record profits.
So much money.
Record profits. And they want to convince us it's like, well, things just get more expensive. It's like, I think you're just making them more expensive for no good reason.
Yeah, you're taking advantage of it. Yeah. Yes, there's inflation, but you also are making things out of control. They're making up for the fact that the country was shut down for 6 months.
Yes. And they're like, well, once you raise prices, they never drop again. It's like, but they can.
Yeah.
They can drop again. And I think you can easily go look that these major companies, like we looked it up the other day, like United Healthcare, it's like the insurance company. It's like they donate to both parties. They donate to the Republicans and the Democrats. They get their hands on both sides. Unless I looked up my facts wrong, like allegedly, I should say allegedly, like I don't want to get sued by anybody, but they know that if they can go donate to something and convince this politician to have a certain belief on something, right? That they can just keep us squabbling over this
Yeah.
stuff. And we won't look up that like, oh, they made how many billions of dollars profit as an insurance company?
Dude, everything as industry is taking advantage of the fact that we were shut down for 6 months to a year, right?
Car prices?
Have you been to a concert?
No.
Oh my God.
And I love going to live shows, and we don't do it.
We like concerts are something that my wife and I really enjoy doing, and we're snobs about where we sit, right?
If you're going to go.
Yeah, if I'm going to go to an arena show, I'm not sitting in the 300s, right? It's just not happening. Dude, concert tickets, even face value. We went to a pretty large concert back in May.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Morgan Wallen, big time star, right?
Yeah.
Dude, our tickets were like $300 face value, right? And it's they don't have to be that expensive.
You know, on the flip side of that, the best example I go to is Garth Brooks. Do you remember
Yes.
years and years and years ago? It feels like a couple years, but I bet it was like 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah, it was about 10 years ago.
But I think he did like $25 tickets.
And it was wherever you got them. They were the same price.
Same price. And I think he sold out like 5 nights at Cowboy Stadium or something. And it's like, dude, selling that many tickets for $25 is like, yeah, could he have charged, $1,500 for those front row seats and made more money? Yeah. But now he still made a shitload of money.
Absolutely.
But now he also has the respect and clout of like, I didn't rip anybody off.
But everything is that to point. Like everyone is. Think of even like comedy. Like comedians right now are
These
making
arenas.
so much money, and great, more power to you. But it's like guys. There's so many guys that are rich off a podcast.
Yeah.
Like everything. Everybody. Like that's what's. I think that's funny too. Where it's like we act like this country's in shambles economically right now. It's not.
No.
People are making so much money.
Yeah. It's just where it's
things
going.
Cost a little bit more.
Yeah. But the thing is like, okay, it's like I drive a Toyota Tacoma, right? And when I bought mine, it was mine's a 2017. And when I bought it, it was the higher end Toyota Tacoma, right? It's got like all these options. It's got these off road options that I like. So back then it was $43,000. The same model Tacoma right now is like $65,000 for a mid-size pickup.
Yeah, and we're talking 7 years later.
That's not normal,
No.
It's not like, oh, it's got things get a little more expensive. It's like, yeah, or you guys just know that Toyota now has like brand recognition. They're known to be reliable, and you can con people into thinking like they're reliable. You should pay money for them.
Put that into perspective, okay? I got a brand. The first car that I ever had was a 2002 Ford Sport Track. Do you remember those?
Yeah, yeah.
The Explorer Sport Track, where it was like
Great
half
truck.
an Explorer and then like a little tiny bed, right? So that was my first car ever. I think that cost $24,000.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I got an F-150 in 2011. So we're talking 9-10 years later. F-150. It was used, but this is quite a large.
Yeah.
Should be more expensive by a ton because it's a nicer vehicle, right?
Mm-hmm.
$26,000, and we're talking 10 years later,
Right.
But now it's like the same car 7 years later. The same car.
You get a fully
Not an
loaded
upgrade.
F-150 now. You're talking like $75,000.
But no, but I'm saying like I'm using your example.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yours is the same car. 7 years later, it's a $30,000 difference.
Yeah.
No upgrade.
Yeah.
Mine was an upgrade, and it was 10 years later, and it was $3,000-$4,000 difference.
Yeah.
And that's the thing where it's like all these people are making tons and tons and tons of money, which is cool. There's money to be made, So,
But it's also the most. I don't know. I don't study economics, but like your wife, you said she's in accounting, and so maybe she can attest to it like some other time. But I think this is probably the most comfortable we've all ever been with debt. Also, like the amount of people taking out massive loans for homes and vehicles, and like I deserve it. You know, and being fine with having like crippling generational debt over their head, student loans, homes, cars. It's like, they got us. They know exactly where to keep us.
yeah, because a flip happened. I don't know when the year was or anything like that, but a flip happened where it used to be perfectly fine for one person in the family to work and have one vehicle and have a 2-3 bedroom house and be perfectly fine. But then it turned into like a marketing ploy to where, hey, you need to have this type of house. You need to have 2 vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no one can. There's only a very small percentage of people that can do that on one income.
Right.
So then even when you do it on 2 incomes, well, you got to bring on this, you got to bring on a little bit more debt. Well, hey, you're working now, so we can't, you work on this side of town, I work on this side of town. We can't have one car. We got to get a second car.
Yeah.
You know, we can't, hey, if you want to be able to, when you, like our generation, we got screwed on this.
Yeah.
If you want to be able to buy a car and a house when you get older, you better go to college. It doesn't matter if it's for engineering or basket weaving. You go to college.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. That's $120,000 of debt that you're never going to pay off. You go to college, right? And so it's just this constant spin. That's why, like, you know, like we were talking earlier before we started recording about like the younger generation.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with Gen Z. At my last spot that I was at, a lot of my employees were either had just graduated or they were like 1 year out. Okay. I loved the fact that when it was 5 o'clock, they were like, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I loved that because they worked their ass off during their hours.
Yeah.
But they weren't like being how we are or the age.
Yeah, well, we were the
older than us.
generation where it's like, even though you had PTO, you're like, are you really taking that day off?
Yeah.
Just for that?
And it's like,
I mean, I guess you can.
my
but
people
like,
were like, I have PTO this day, do not call me.
yeah.
You know, now it's a little bit different because I'm in sales. So I'm kind of like, well, you know, you make more money the more you do. But the other people that I would see there that were also like 22, 23, 24 that were just salaried, I'd be like, go do it, sister.
Yeah.
Clock out. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I love this attitude.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all because I feel like it'd be one thing if you gave your life for the company and it's like, hey man, they're giving, 10% raises every year, they're giving you a bonus, they still do the holiday parties, and like you felt like, I can, if I want to climb this ladder, I can climb this ladder. If I want to clock out, I can go home, right? Where all your extra effort was rewarded. But then you see these massive gaps between workers and administration or CEOs or whatever. And you realize it's like, oh no, they're just gaming it. And so I think that's what has to happen. Like, one, it's like the cost of goods. I don't know how you fix some of that. I think you just stop buying shit for a while. I think you just say, I'm happy owning a car for 10 or 15 years than to go in there and get that loan on that piece of junk for that much money, right?
I just bought a truck last week.
Yeah.
Okay. I had my other truck for 13 and a half years.
Yeah.
And the only reason why I bought one is because I think it was about to break down.
Yeah. Well,
And
how many times have you heard people where they're like, oh, I lease a car or I buy a car every like 3 or 4 years because, it's like, I don't want to drive something past like 100 miles or 100,000 miles and, have to start doing like the maintenance and upkeep and all that. And it's like, how did they convince you that that's actually the better route? That's a salesman who told you that crap, because I'm sorry, a car should last far more than 100,000 miles if it's maintained. And if they're making them to fail like that, then, it's like, that's why we bought I have a Toyota, my wife has a Subaru. It's like, these things are going to last as long as we maintain them. And, these other companies that can't do that with their cars, it's like, you should just stop buying those. If you feel like you need another car every 3 years, you're part of the problem.
Unless you're just someone that has to travel 7 days a week. Like, and I'm talking like,
I mean, if you threw the miles on it, I could understand.
I had a buddy that worked had one of those jobs where it's, he would do like 4 weeks on and like 2 weeks off, and he's driving like cross country, right?
Sure.
So he put like 130,000 miles on his car in like 2 or 3 years. That's different, right?
Sure.
But
let's be real. Most people want a new car every 3 years because they want the latest thing, the newest thing. Oh, this one's got a bigger screen. The screen in the middle is 2 inches bigger.
I will tell you this: my truck lasted 235,000 miles when I finally sold it last week. Right, 235,000 miles,
and that's only because you decided it's been 13 years. I would like something a little newer instead of investing a bunch of money to get this thing running, like back to new.
So that I had the conversation.
But it's like you could have doubled that mileage if you really wanted to. It would.
Yeah, it started to shake.
But after 13 years, it's like,
yeah,
you've earned a new car if you want one.
Well, it started to shake, and my last truck, the engine blew at around like 130,000 miles on it. And it was making the same noise, and I was like, well, I don't want this engine to blow, and I make $0 off of it, right?
Right.
And then have to go buy something anyway. So I was like, why don't I, before this bad boy blows, why don't I just go ahead and sell it and get something new, right?
Yeah.
But for these people out there that feel like that are getting sold that you don't want to do the maintenance, dude, I might have just got lucky. I had like 3 repairs that cost me more than
Right.
$1,000,
which is
on that
far,
thing.
far less than a car payment. So let's just say
I went 8 years without a car.
That's what I was
payment.
going to say, right? So I had to tell my wife that, right? Like she had some stuff that needed, it was maintenance stuff on her Subaru. I think it cost like $2,500 because we got a bunch of things done at once, right? And of course, it's like $2,500 is $2,500, right? I don't care who you are; it's thousands of dollars.
That's a hard pill to swallow,
and it's not fun to pay that, right? But I had to remind her, I was like, "Hey, you've had your car for like 10 years, and this is the first thing we've really had to do to it."
Yeah,
I was like, "That's a pretty good run. Like if we average that out over every year, not too bad." Versus like because right now if you get a car payment, it's like you're not getting one for under $500 a month.
no, unless
not
you
gonna
put
happen.
like $12,000 down or something.
Right? Yeah, and it's all just a hustle, man. That's just how they get you, dude. You were talking about the single family income, right? Think about the shows we watched as children, right? Not as teenagers, not as 20-year-olds, but as children, right? When you had like TGIF, right? You had like a Step by Step and Family Matters, right? I'm pretty sure those were single income families, right? I think Step by Step, that guy was the only one working. But like now, if you want to go real lowbrow, right? Al Bundy, married with children, supported his whole family, had a decent home, had a car, and he was a fucking shoe salesman.
Yeah, but have you ever seen like people try to break down if you actually like I
know, but I'm just saying like
Yeah.
the idea was that even this loser Al Bundy with this loser job is supporting his family somehow.
Yes. But now every show you watch, they're all like big shot lawyers, stuff like that, like jobs that only like the 1% have.
Well, like the delusion when people are like, I need a partner that makes at least $100,000.
Yeah, have you seen like those man on the street
Yes.
interviews and they'll
it's
ask
like
girls and they'll be like, what do you think a man should make? I don't know, like $250. Like, who do you know that makes $250,000?
Right. And it's like, do you not have Google to look up what average incomes are across the country? It's like, are you kidding me? And so there's just all these expectations of like, I should have this, I should have that. I mean, go talk to like an old person. Go talk to somebody who's old. I mean, like real old, 80s, 90s, if you can find them, right? And ask them about like childhood upbringings and the little amount that most of them had that was very common, right? And that they were still 100% content and happy with it.
Yeah.
And then ask them about like, what do you think about the abundance of like our generation and the generations around us and stuff? And they're be like, it just seems so wasteful,
I like spending money on activities.
Yeah.
That's where I like my money to go to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm perfectly fine with. I'm sure I'll keep this next truck until it dies. It's not something that I'm not big in. And if you are into that stuff, cool, more power to you.
Sure.
But I like having a little bit of extra money to go do things.
Like if that's your passion, right? Like if you're a car person, if you're, and I don't mean like you, I like to have a nice car. I mean like if you build trucks to go take them off road and that is your hobby, that is your thing that you're into, or you build cars to go to car shows or racetracks, it's like, hey, that's your thing. I get it, right? Like I spend money on this podcast. That's silly to some people, right? I get that. But if you just like, have you seen those people who get like, we live in Texas, it's like, you'll see people where every 4 to 5 years they have a brand new pickup that they do all these crazy modifications to lift it, rims, tires, bumpers. And it's like, you put like $20,000 of modifications on a truck that you're going to get rid of in like 4 years.
I know.
And you do this all the time.
None of that money back.
Yeah. And it's like, it's all depreciating. It's all bad. And it's like, I've gotten to the point now, it's like the only reason I would like a new truck currently is if we have a second child, I would just like a little more space.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's like, I'm ready to see if I can put 500,000 miles on this truck. Like I don't want to waste money on that. Because now I think like, I would hate to have a car payment and that be the thing where if I get approached by a comic to record a special, I can't afford to do it.
Yeah, or hey, my family, I want to take them on this cool vacation.
Yeah.
Or hey, my kid got selected to do this thing and it's going to cost X amount of dollars a month. Or I want to take my wife to this fun thing. Or I want to pick,
I can't have a car payment.
Yeah.
And the new car's so much more expensive. The insurance is more expensive now. Oh.
Yeah, no.
But it looks cool.
But it's cool. Have you seen
and
it?
it's like,
it beeps when I walk up next to it.
And it's like, I guess it's probably a maturity thing, but like, when was the last time you looked at somebody else's car and you were like, damn, Steve,
Yeah.
driving that.
I will say
you must
this.
be the man.
I was getting to the point though where I was starting to be a little bit embarrassed by my truck because the paint was starting to peel off of it.
But also you do realize that like any regular, I don't know about women. I'm going to speak on behalf of men here. I don't know about women, but any grown man that has real responsibilities, right? You got a family, kids. If you see another person with a truck whose paint is peeling, do you ever think horrible about them? You've never once thought like, loser.
Yeah, no.
You've never thought that. Most sane, mature, grown men just think like, dude doesn't want to buy a new truck yet. Right on, brother. Like,
Yeah.
You don't think twice about it. You don't go home 3 hours later and be like, God, that dude on the tollway, what a loser.
Look at that
What a
loser.
loser.
Yeah,
His paint
that's
was
true.
peeling. You've never once thought that. You've never been into any one of your friends' homes and all the things they think you're going to judge, right? You've never left that house, gotten home and be like, you see their bathroom?
I can't believe he didn't sweep underneath
Did
his.
you see
Yeah.
their bathroom? They haven't updated it in at least 5 or 6 years. And they wanted me to pee in there? Like, no one has ever thought that, right? It's always us thinking everyone else is judging us about this.
Yeah.
And we're all so concerned about our own things that we don't think about other people that way. Like, as long as they don't wrong you, as long as they respect you, you don't, it's like, I was talking, who was I talking to? I don't remember. But they were older than me, and they were talking about how, like, in the 70s and 80s, like, you didn't really look at people in terms of, like, that money they're making. You looked at it in terms of like, are they interesting? Like, is this an interesting person? You didn't think like, are they rich? Like
Yeah.
you weren't judging the success necessarily solely on money. It was more kind of around like accomplishments.
Well, here's the deal. Most people that have a lot of money, you have no idea they have a lot of money.
Well, yeah. Yeah, the correct rich people.
That's what like my wife and I will talk about sometimes in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
And we live in a great neighborhood. Nothing wrong with it. It's great. But people on our street will have like boats and they have this and they have that. And we'll sometimes be like, what do they do for a living? And I'm like, I think here's the thing. I explained to her, I said, 3 things are happening oftentimes. 1, everyone on our street has kids roughly the same age as us and are like 10 years older than us. Okay? So give me 10 years of making the money that we were making when we were in our, in our early 30s. Without children, yeah, that's like 4 boats. You know what I mean? like, without having to spend $25,000 a year on daycare for 2 people, that's a couple of boats, right? That's 1. Or 2, a lot of people in this area, mom and dad paid for their college.
Yeah.
And they got their down payment paid for by mom and dad. So that helps out a lot. That's a boat.
Yep.
That's a jet ski. That's a whatever, right? Or 3, they can't afford it. That's all just debt.
Yeah.
And then maybe there's a 4th one. Some people just make a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But for the most part, it's usually one of those 3.
Well, the person who makes, we have some people in our family that are extremely successful. You know, extremely successful. And, we might go to their home that was recently renovated, and it's a very nice home in a nice area. So it's in a certain ballpark of money, and you're like, damn. But then you look at like the cars they drive, and they're driving like, entry level cars of quality brands. Yeah. They're not wearing big watches or anything, and you're just like, hell yeah. That's how you want to be. You want to be this undercover rich. But they knew the specific example I'm talking about, they created a business, and now they're on to creating like their second business, and they've run them, and they they go to other countries to check on manufacturing and things. And it's like they know what it took to build something. And they literally started it on their kitchen table, assembling things. And so it's like those people, they don't want to blow, $90,000 on a new Lexus SUV because they know how hard it is to make $90,000, right?
Yeah, to actually make $90,000.
Yeah, and that like unless you're worth a certain amount of millions, you shouldn't just be casually spending that, right? And I think, especially here in Dallas and all these suburbs, it's like, look at how many incredibly wealthy suburbs we have around Dallas, not even including areas like Highland Park and University Park in Dallas, right? And but think about areas, Frisco, Prosper, and these areas where it's like there aren't that many people making that many millions of dollars.
No.
It's not possible.
That's why they live out there.
Yeah, but they still ball out of control like they make that. And it's like, so to your point, it's like, I think either they have assistance or they're heavily leveraged in a way that's probably not great if we have like a market crash or something.
Yeah.
But if you're just driving down the road and all you see is, Lexus, Mercedes, BMW, blah, 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 you just think like, man, I'm a loser. And it's like,
It's hard to do it, but you gotta remind yourself you're not a loser.
Yeah, I think about it all the time. There was this car when I was living in Plano, going down 75, and this dude was driving this car from like the 70s. It's the heat of the summer, windows are down. He's an old guy driving, and his car looks old too. And as I get closer, he's got a cardboard sign in the back window. It says, "No power steering, no AC, no car payment since the Reagan administration."
That's
and it's like, hell yeah. But just something about that, like, his car did not look nice. But something about that, like, I don't give a shit attitude. I'm not buying another car. We're making this thing last. And I was like, I still think about that guy today about, like, I bet he's got a lot of money now, and we probably don't realize it,
Yeah.
But it was cool, man. I'm glad we can fix all these problems on just
Fix so many problems. We didn't really talk comedy or anything.
We talk comedy all the time, man.
Yeah.
But, yeah, well, let's get you out of here, man. I appreciate you swinging. It's not going to be 3 years since you're back on. I know we're not going to talk about it yet, but I know you got things coming up. And I can't wait for some of these things to be revealed, and then we'll come back on and talk about it then.
That sounds like a plan,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
I think this is the 5th time I've been on here, though.
The 5th time you've been on my show?
Yeah.
Well,
So-
I brought you on once for sure, and then after the marathon, you and Sonny came on, so I can remember 2 for sure.
I did
Excuse me.
one by myself, and then another by myself. Then we did before the marathon,
Okay.
and then we did post-marathon.
Okay, so we just did a bunch at the beginning, and
Yeah,
then we
we
went
just
a
like
big
in the
gap.
first couple of years, we were just on it all the
We'll
time.
space it out a little better. But yeah, you're still all the same spots on social media and all that
At
good
Michael
stuff.
Pasvar.
And then tell everybody the name of the new podcast you're doing.
The Sonny G and Mike P show.
And y'all doing like weekly episodes?
Weekly. Every Tuesday at 5 a.m. they drop.
There you go. It's been entertaining. My favorite title so far is I think it was Tsunami Salami.
Yes. That's when we were talking about the shooter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his claims of his
Yeah.
size.
Of his salami.
Anyhow. All right, man. We'll get you back in here soon, dude. Appreciate it.
See ya.
The I'm a Fan of podcast, music, comedy, and more.